Imagine everything you love about the hobby in the palm of your hand. An entire store at your fingertips. Everything you need to know about cards is within your grasp. Unlock the secrets of the hobby. Plus, so much more. You don't have to imagine anymore. It's here. Card Ladder. Get the app today.
What's going on, Josh?
Yo, what's up, man?
How are you?
Good. Friday. Excited.
How was your day?
So good.
Good. Good.
I'll leave that. I'll leave that announcement for a minute.
Okay. All right. I didn't even set up a little card for people
I
to
got
look
mail
at.
days too.
You have mail days?
Yeah.
Let's go.
There you go. All right. PSA return and a new card from Ship My Cards. I got a lot of names. I got all 9s. I didn't get a single 10. That's okay. Second year Topps Chrome Gold Hopkins 50. This is my favorite Contenders design.
Beautiful.
Trying to get a 10, man. Still haven't seen one. I told you. I've been looking for the 10 for a year. Still haven't seen one.
What's the pop?
I'm not sure. I have to look it up. I don't think it's incredibly low. Like, I think I would have found one by now, but I just haven't.
Huh.
Rookie card, rookie gold refractor, Topps Chrome, PSA 9. That's one interesting thing about collecting things that not a lot of other people are, is that it's actually a lot harder to find that stuff because the people that have it aren't selling it because it's not worth it, because there's not enough money, you know?
I was thinking a similar thought when you were talking about trying to find the Julio.
Like, what if you collected, like, Jaleel Okafor? It'd be so hard to find this stuff because the people that have it aren't selling it. It's probably buried away. They just, whatever, I'm never going to sell it.
Right.
All right, these are the big ones. 2012 gold, Larry Fitzgerald.
Nice.
I picked this one up a long time ago. I sent it to PSA, and you know how that story goes. Just got it back. I think I acquired this like last summer.
Okay. Nice one.
Obviously numbered to 10. I think these are better than any gold you could possibly ever get right here. This is my favorite of the week. 2007 finest gold refractor, Calvin Johnson rookie, and number to 50. And this is the highest graded copy from BGS right here.
Beautiful.
No other quad pluses. This is it.
Beautiful copy.
All right, your turn.
I have no mail days, but I will display a cool low-end Jordan, as I want to do from time to time. But congratulations on your mail days, man. That's a pretty good week where I'm coming from.
Yes, sir. And I'll just give the news now. Today was my last day at my full-time gig. I put in my 1 month notice about a month ago. Yeah, my laptop screen is gross. And so as of today, I am full-time Card Ladder. We're ready to go.
Congrats, man. How does it feel?
Feels good. I just wanted to get down to one laptop because I've had a laptop for that job and for Card Ladder, and it was annoying to like switch back and forth and have 2 chat systems and 2 people to, you know, have to talk to about work. The context switching was getting annoying, so I'm excited to not have to do that anymore.
Yeah, it's the little things in life, like consolidating to one laptop.
Yes. I mean, that was really all of it. It was like, ugh, gotta get the other laptop and respond to all these emails and deal with all these different people that it's not Card Ladder, you know, it's nice to reduce that mental burden.
100%. Many congrats are flowing in from the chat as well.
Nice. So, thank you, everyone.
Enjoy, man. Well done. Today is March 26th. We're recording this Friday night. There is just a quick announcement. There is a new crossover. I mean, I'm sorry. There's a new Sports Cards Culture episode on YouTube talking about one of, well, what I said was the most underrated feature of Card Ladder.
Oh.
And feel free to check that out if you'd like. Josh actually has it pulled up here as well. So these are the player indexes on Card Ladder. There's about 800 of them. There's so much power in this information right here. Sometimes we worry that we're maybe doing feature overload a little bit, but yeah, this is a powerful feature. Do you want to say anything about the player indexes?
No, I maybe just like you said, just go check it out and dig through it and see what you think. It's been out for a while, but yeah, we almost have too much stuff, like you said, so it's kind of hard to hit everything. People will message me, and Christina joked about this in the episode, but people will message me asking for something, and I'm like, we literally have that. Like, go here. That exists. Like, someone asked me for, I'm gonna forget now. They asked me for like scanning the cards like eBay had. Like, eBay can scan the cards now. Like, yeah, I know. We have that. We had that way before eBay did.
That's right.
Copying us.
First to market with the smart scan technology right here. So good deal. Anything else Card Ladder related you'd like to highlight from this week?
The new dashboard, the customizable dashboard.
Great feature. Dashboard now. It's I believe the first screen you'll see when you log into Card Ladder, and you can now customize it to have whatever the features are that you want to have and that you don't want to have. Yep, yes. Right there.
So you can, and we added new widgets too, like the headline widget, which lets you look at all the headlines that Chris writes the night before, which is my favorite. Then we have the stuff we had before. We've got like, what's the latest update? What's the latest software update we released? How many cards we added? What's the index update look like? The collection value, and then all the ones we had before. The collection one is nice. You just log in, and because people like to get their email every morning of like how much their collection went up or down. And so now that's on the dashboard. First thing you see. Yeah, and that's on the app too now. We launched it on the app one day after the web, so that's good to go. You can customize that on both.
That's great. Jeremy says he customized his dashboard today, and it was a game changer. Good. Also, there were some big hockey auctions ending tonight, and I would like to address just a couple people asking us to add some more hockey cards. We hear you. So thank you for that suggestion. Well, I think the demand for hockey is growing. Ovechkin, his $9.99 rookie auto set back-to-back all-time highs this week. It sold for $22K one day, and then it sold for $30K the next day. Hockey is definitely going nuts right now. So, yeah, good suggestions. I see Summertime says some sealed wax. Christina, how many wax boxes do we have? We have a number. We have a number. Christina sighs.
180.
I was in the middle of like a groove with
I'm sorry.
It's like 100, 180.
200.
Or 180? Okay.
I have 285.
Because you search or 280. All right, 285 boxes, perhaps. Sorry, Christina, go back to your groove, please.
Sealed box, 285.
285 sealed boxes. All right. Very good. We'll continue to add more as well. And since I'm in Mr. LAGN, we're adding soccer as we speak right now, my friend. Soccer is doing very, very well right now, and they have a new superstar, this Holland kid. So very cool stuff. Yes.
His was the one that did that huge number on Golden, right? The 100,000.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yes, it is.
We got one of the stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. While we have Summertime here, let's talk about the upcoming card shows briefly. There are 3 of them that I'm aware of, 3 big ones that are being put on by, good people that we know. First one is the Courtside Card Show in Miami, May 1st and 2nd. There's the Wisconsin Dells Show, May 14th through 16th. And then there's the Dallas Card Show, May 20th through May 23rd. Those are going to be 3 big shows. Talk to me a little bit about shows, man. I had messaged you a little bit earlier. It feels like the golden high-end card effect, like we're seeing so many come to auction right now. Feels like now we're seeing so many big, great shows getting planned, and there's a lot of excitement for them.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about these shows, man.
Yeah. The second one is being put on by a close friend of mine, Grant Waldorf Stories, and that's going to be awesome because it's just like the ultimate hotel vacation spot for families. They've got everything. They've got I think he said the biggest indoor water park in the country, and games and bars and nice hotels and just everything. And then the card show. So that's gonna be really cool. I think Grant is really innovative thinker in those terms of trying to bring together fun and card shows and try to break that stigma of people in short shorts and not wearing deodorant, standing over cheap boxes and trying to make it a little bit more fun and attractive for everybody. So I think he's way ahead on that one.
And also, I noticed on Grant's Instagram story that it's going to overlap with Kobe's Hall of Fame induction, so we as a hobby can collectively celebrate that. So,
right,
good. Just coincidental timing there, I'm sure, Grant.
I just want to say Grant is a genius because for all those hobbyists who have families who haven't been on vacation in over a year, you can bring your kids to the Dells and then sneak away to the card show.
Yeah.
I mean, the timing of the shows is great because people are getting vaccinated right now. I got my first vaccine shot the other day. People are getting vaccinated. There's a little bit more comfort in people moving around and traveling. So I think the shows are going to play a big part in that, and people just wanted to get out and see other people. So this is going to be awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. So, all right, that's that on the shows. Oh, I did ask people in a story poll, which would they be attending? The Miami show, the Dells show, the Dallas show, or all 3? And and I ran this poll pretty late, but the Dallas show had 25 responses that they would be attending. The courtside show in Miami and the Wisconsin Dells show each had about 17 people saying that they would be attending, and then 8 people said they would be attending all 3.
Jeez.
So people are really loving these shows, which is cool. Okay. Let's get to the first question. I issued a midterm grade of a B on the quality of the questions, which is, I'm a tough grader. I'm going to raise it to a B+. I think you guys closed strong and in volume. We will not be able to get to all the questions today. So Wade Zoe, first question says, so many people, including yourselves, have returned to hobby over the last few years. And editor's note, we both came back in about mid-2016. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So about 5 years ago now for Josh and I. Wade continues, what was the reason for people leaving the hobby in the first place? And what would prevent this from happening again?
Let's see. I think a lot of it was the dawning of the internet and people just phasing away from physical things, physical stores. There's a lot more people going on the internet, not going out to malls. Kind of had the same problems, anything physical, and obviously the overprinting of stuff didn't help, and people kind of got burned in a lot of cases on cards that they had thought were worth a lot, and then come to find out there was a ton of it as it popped up more and more on the internet. Just became aware that there was overpopulation, and it just became too easy to get that stuff. How do we prevent it? Well, I think having scarcity obviously helps. We haven't gone through a potential recession in sports cards while having the rarity in place, so that's going to be different. I don't know that we're going to be able to measure how that's going to go relative to what happened in the 90s and early 2000s. We have a lot more talent in our sports, I feel like, than we did the last time this happened in the early 2000s. There was a bunch of poor draft classes. People, Tom Brady fans are yelling at me right now, but basketball kind of carries that mantle, and we've got awesome basketball talent coming in almost every year through these drafts. I don't know. Like, I feel like there's just been so much emphasis on like the digital world that people are kind of really excited to have something physical. I was thinking about this tonight. Like, what would happen if like cards became more and more digital and we kept moving that way? But I don't know. I feel like people are pushing against that because they enjoy sort of like this is the one physical asset they have in their life that they actually enjoy. I don't know. What's your take?
Yep, these are all good points. In a clubhouse room the other night that Jeremy was in with me and maybe a few others, a question was posed that kind of is similar to this. The question was, what's different between sports cards in the 90s and now? And so that's the opposite way of kind of getting at a similar question, which, what's different? What if we can identify things that are different between the 90s and now and the early 2000s and now, then we might be able to put our finger on what can change the trajectory of sports cards going forward now versus 20, 25 years ago. And you put your finger on, I thought you were going to go in a different direction, but I totally agree. I like the direction you went in more. It's a more subtle point that the physical nature of cards becomes a more and more valuable part of them, or it becomes, as more and more becomes digital, cards become one of the fewer physical things we have, which makes them more interesting. But where I thought you were going to go is from the digital aspect, is that in the 90s, we didn't have internet marketplaces and we didn't have infrastructure that permitted the transacting of cards on, global scales and even on, interstate scales, even town to town. The only way to transact cards in the 90s was to go to local shows and local shops and then the occasional big regional or big national show. That was it. Think about that. Think about how bizarre that is. How would we hobby today as a thought experiment? How would we hobby today? Yes, I'm turning hobby into a verb. If all we could do is just wait for the next show or go to the local shop to make our moves. No eBay, no marketplaces, no card ladder, no MySlabs, no nothing. All we have is just, we have our cards and we have the shop and we have the shows. I think you can imagine quickly just how different that would feel psychologically and practically. So psychologically, you just feel cut off, right? You don't have your community of friends. You don't have your online marketplace to give you something to stimulate activity, and you don't have auctions. Auctions, I believe, are such an important part of keeping this market hot and active. You can force the action anytime you want, and sometimes that can provoke interesting and unexpected reactions. Just all these things that having the digital world provides, from community to transacting. Let me get you to jump in here for a second and maybe take a thread that I offered and run with it, or if you disagree with part of it, but or all of it. But what do you think about that? The difference between the 90s and now, above all, being the connectivity through marketplaces and community that we have thanks to basically the internet.
Yeah, well, I guess when cards crashed in the 90s, early 2000s, being sort of replaced by the internet. Now that we're used to the internet, we're used to how we use it, and now we're sort of like repurposing it to display our cards. Right now, we've actually figured out the internet as a tool for us to share the cards that we used to have way back when. And we haven't touched on nostalgia too, which is like the whole reboot concept of it. Every like 20 to 30 years, Gary talks about this all the time, about how different genres or aspects kick back up because people they become adults, they have more money, they have kids, they want to relive some of the stuff from their childhood. So that's why another reason we're seeing this kind of reboot in cards is that all the people that collected in the 90s and as kids are now older and they have money. And I think that's another thing that hasn't been touched on yet. People just have more money today than they did in the 90s. Like, the economy is a lot stronger. There's more discretionary income for everybody, and cards are that. They're not a necessity. They're more of a fun hobby. And so there's more money for people to be able to spend their money on cards and fun things that they don't need, but they just kind of enjoy. So like there's a lot of money being spent on hobbies right now.
Dude, totally. And think about all the seeds that were planted in people our age, people a little bit older than us, by how cards evolved in the 90s and how suddenly, chase cards, you didn't have to wait 20 years for a guy to become a Hall of Famer. And then you really try to find the rare conditions, top condition copy of a card that has thousands of copies and tens of thousands of copies. There wasn't this need for artificial scarcity created by grading or some other method. Instead, we had these instant chase cards that were created by a different form of artificial scarcity, a form of limited print runs, very difficult pack odds, insertion ratios. And so all of a sudden, as kids, we open a box or we go to a shop and we see these extremely rare, beautiful, lucrative, high-end items that are just out of our reach. And so all these seeds are getting planted, these seeds that would come to harvest 20, 25 years later about these amazing, super desirable grails. I mean, we're reading about them in Beckett Magazine, precious metal gems. I can't even afford to buy a few packs of this as a kid, let alone a box. And even if I got a box, the likelihood of me getting a PMG is next to impossible. There were so many seeds planted, so many, things dangled beyond our reach that, to your point about now we're in our 30s or 40s, most people that I'm thinking of here, we have income available, and now these things are a little bit closer to our reach, at least some of them. We can't get them all, but we can focus on one or two and try to get them. So I think there was a lot of seeds planted in the 90s, piggybacking off of your point there.
There's also a cautionary tale here for, we've seen what can happen, and we can't, if you don't want history to repeat itself, you need to learn about it. And what can we learn from what happened in the 90s? Well, it's overproduction. It's, loss of interest because of new things that come up. And we're seeing some of these issues. Panini's overprinting certain things. They're making too many different rookie cards of players. New things are popping up to distract us with technology such as Top Shot and or NFTs. So these same threats are kind of looming, and we have to learn from them what we've learned in the past and try to correct for them. And I think what we can control in that is what we've talked about on the show a lot, and that's, try to find stuff that's rare and exciting for you to collect and not necessarily fall into the hype of the next overprinted card, and try to figure out what cards are actually going to matter in the long run instead of just plucking the first thing that you see just because you feel like, it's the next thing to hit or whatever. There is a lot to finding the correct brand and something that's going to stand the test of time and something that has history. And, the last point to that is if you like cards, stick with cards. If you don't, if you're just in it for money and you like Top Shot, I guess go to Top Shot, but this isn't strictly a money thing, and that one is. So there's a lot for us to protect here in cards, and that's the collectability of it, the fun, the community aspect, and the finding rare items, and the whole hunt for sports cards is much different than Top Shot. So we kind of have to keep protecting it the way we've talked about in the show a lot.
Yeah, I agree, and we've learned some good perspectives, I think, over the last few months about the things that we can emphasize when we talk about sports cards that are unique to sports cards. If our interest is, hey, we want to protect our industry, and we understand that marketing is important. And so if we're talking about cards, we're marketing them, we're explaining why we like them so much. There's certain properties that cards have that nothing else has. One of the big ones is what we were just talking about, nostalgic connection to the 90s. There is psychological paper after study from across multiple psychology departments for decades now that point to the power and the drive that we have to reconnect with things that we loved in childhood. And then there's a lot of business literature and self-help literature and entrepreneurship literature that speaks to how if we can rediscover our passions that we had as kids, we're much likelier to find a vocation, to find something that we feel like is a calling. And the mechanism at work in both of those places is that as kids, we were very free-minded, free-spirited. we didn't have the complexities and the burdens, psychological burdens in particular, that adult life introduced. We just didn't have those. It was a simpler time. It was a time that we'll always long for, and that some part of us will always be yearning for and reaching for. And cards are one of those rare things that bridges the gap. It's a physical, tangible item that takes us back to one of the most desirable psychological periods of our lives. And we romanticized the period of our life. It wasn't that great when we were going through it. Sure, it was fun, but we were dumb, we were naive, we were simple-minded. But the fact of it doesn't matter. Is that we romanticize it. It's that connecting back to a childhood point of view is a lifelong, mission that people seek to accomplish. And it provides escapism. It provides so many things. So that's something that cards have, that is unique to cards, that is so powerful, especially to our generation who grew up in the 90s, but many people of older generation and even a little bit younger were there for the 90s as well to collect cards. And if not, then they have the 2000s or they have the 80s and so forth. So this nostalgic connection, thanks to the history of cards, is something that is unique to cards, and that we can use that to explain why we love cards so much. Then and that doesn't mean you have to collect cards from that era. It's the cards themselves, right? It's just the act of collecting, the joy, the challenges, the intricacies, whether it's that feeling you get when you just open Beckett magazine and you look at an article, or you discover a rare card, or you find something that's just out of your reach. Now we have that 10 times over through social media and forums and different platforms and stuff like that. So like, the nostalgic thing is huge. We need to talk about it. It's something that cannot be replicated, and it cannot be taken away from us. So that's a big part of this whole thing. And then the other two, we've talked about this before, history, for obvious reasons, a history of sports cards. There's a long legacy there of sports cards that is powerful. And then we talked about this a little bit earlier as well, the physical, the tangible nature of these items. It just gets, it gets more alluring, I think, or an argument could be made that the physical items become more and more enticing as everything else becomes more and more digital. We don't lose the sense of touch just because more parts of our lives become digital. In fact, that sense becomes deprived, and it needs to be, the desire to fulfill that sense will only increase as things become more digital, in my point of view. So, all right, let me pause there for a breath here.
Gabe, that was a record. Should have timed that shit.
Sorry, man.
I was also going to add, like, the nostalgia of the actual sporting events themselves. That's why I pulled this card out 9 minutes ago. I just have like a very strong nostalgic, memory of Larry Fitzgerald and like going to Cardinals games. I went to the Packers Cardinals game, and when Larry caught that like kind of bubble pass and like took it all the way to the 1 yard line and then scored the next play to win the game in overtime against the Packers in the playoffs. And the whole crowd was chanting Larry's name for like an hour, leaving the stadium and stuff. So like just seeing him on a card and knowing I own one of his best cards is just like a really fun, nostalgic thing for me. So like that's part of it, the connection to the actual athletes.
Right on. So these are some thoughts about a very big question, big hobby question, which is, hey, what can we do to protect it and make sure that it's still here and it's still thriving 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? And it's nice. That's why I put this question first, because I like that we're thinking about this conscientiously. Are you in agreement with that? Do you think that we should be worrying about this, that we should be thinking about it, or maybe is it just not quite as important as it might seem to me?
Oh, it's important. Before this episode, my wife and I were watching the Blockbuster documentary on Netflix.
Okay.
And it was very, like, everyone was looking at Blockbuster in the light of this documentary, like, kind of laughing about it, like, oh, those silly Blockbuster guys, they totally flubbed it, and, like, who cares about Blockbuster anymore? But they have some of the same things that would attract you to Blockbuster that cards do, like nostalgia from the 90s. You remember going to Blockbuster stores, but why are they just like completely irrelevant and cards aren't? What's the difference? And there's like obviously the investing, money making part of it. Cards have sort of evolved, and they've sort of like shifted into more of like a collectible hobby investor thing, and Blockbuster was more of a, I'm doing this as a means of entertainment through like how I consume it. There's a better way to do it. So there's like a bunch of differences, but we kind of have to like humbly remind ourselves that cards could become blockbuster if we're not careful.
Yeah, it's a good cautionary tale. In the case of Blockbuster, the content didn't change. The Blockbuster didn't provide any content. It was a retailer. The analog, I think, to the hobby would be hobby shops versus internet retailers. So
yeah, the product, but the product for cards has remained physically, like the shape and the size and the dimensions of it have remained the same. It's just that they've evolved, like the looks of them, the rarity, the different products they've released, like that has evolved, but it's still like a physical card with the same physical properties that it used to be. And there's no such thing as VHS tapes and DVDs anymore. So like people have moved into different, but like I was saying, like the physical nature of the cards is what makes the cards valuable. And the content on the discs and the VHS is what people want. They don't, they just want to get it the fastest way possible. And they just don't, they don't want to have to like put a DVD into a thing.
Yeah, well, I agree. Yeah. Entertainment is a very interesting topic, but like, look, I've allowed us to get through one question so far, so let me keep this moving. Interesting tangent there, maybe to touch back on later. BBB4391 says, did you guys see Card Talk Live? Amazing, especially considering the lack of content just a few years ago. And I want to acknowledge Lou, who I saw in the chat, who was holding it down for like 6 hours across the YouTube stream, the Instagram stream, and then the after party on Clubhouse. And Lefko was a host of one of the segments, and he hosted Dominique Wilkins, Spud Webb, and Johnny Moore, the legend Johnny Moore, who has one of the most expensive 1986 Fleer rookie cards in a PSA 10. So let me say to you, did you watch Card Talk Live yet? If you didn't get a chance to yet, have you seen some of the hoopla surrounding it? It was pretty tough to miss on social media.
I've seen bits and pieces of it, not the whole thing. I still need to watch it. But yeah, like the spectacle of it was awesome, and the organization and some of the names that showed up. It's obviously like all positive for the hobby and having more exposure and getting more people excited about it. So like I thought that was really interesting and entertaining. And I watched the eBay bit with Gary. That was the only one that I watched like fully through. But you told me a lot about some of the other stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty sweet little event that happened there.
It was, man. It showed an interesting. I mean, I know it was being promoted, but I didn't understand the gravity of it until it was happening. And there was thousands of people on the stream, and Allen Robinson is popping up, and Pat McAfee is popping up, and Kendrick Perkins, and then Channing Frye, and like Channing Frye's seemingly very knowledgeable about the hobby. What's wrong?
You're squeaking the pen,
sorry.
and it drives me crazy.
All right, sorry. I fidget when I talk. Thank you. All right. And Christina gave me a different object to play with. Channing Frye, very, very seemingly knowledgeable on cards. Emmanuel Quickly. I mean, it was just incredible. Gary brought on Nicole from eBay. Gary would pop in. A funny hell yeah meme emerged because Tyler kept saying hell yeah. It was really good, and it was star-studded. Oh man, it was just from start to finish. It was just they had Jesse from PWCC, they had Rick Probstein on there. It was just really, it had the hobby studs. It was all against the backdrop of eBay. So like eBay, making a nice push outreach to the community. It was cool. It definitely had a cool factor to it that I really enjoyed. That it really kept my interest the whole time. So I thought it was terrific, and I agree with the spirit of this comment. Amazing considering the lack of content just a few years ago. It really is. Whether it's podcasts on the Ringer Network, whether it's Gary V creating this content with the Card Talk team and eBay, there's just a lot of cool content out there right now, man.
Agreed.
So worth the watch. All right, next question. Rookie Patch Auto says, I'm surprised to see some really high-end cards and grails flipped in less than 2 months. Comments?
Yeah, I mean, when stuff triples and 4Xs in a couple months, it's pretty expected that people are going to want to take profit and move on and take the cash. Hopefully they're reinvesting into more cards. But yeah, it's a little disheartening, as a collector to see that stuff kind of moved around a lot. Like, we haven't seen it potentially in like 2 years, and to see it sell 2 times in a month is kind of frustrating. Like as a hobbyist and as someone who's invested in the hobby, I like to see that stuff remain rare and not like flipped around a lot. It's just kind of like degrades the value of it to me when I see that. So yeah, I get the spirit of the question, and you can't really blame people for taking profits at this point. I think that's obviously like the main factor there.
Yeah, let me ask you. Let me throw this by you. Tell me if this is off base. I'm going to say that as a general rule of thumb, an item is probably overpriced if it starts coming to auction in quick succession when it had not been seen in years. And I'll give some examples of this that speak to 2 cards that I love, so that I'm not throwing anybody else's cards under the bus, only my own. The Michael Jordan Molten Metal Fusion Titanium out of 40. The last time one sold prior to prior to the past 3 or 4 months was in the year 2016. That was the last time one sold. There was a 4.5 year almost drought of sales for the Molten Metal Fusion Titanium Jordan out of 40. There it is. Then, over the last few months, one sold with Gray Flannel or Mile High, one of those 2 auction houses. I can't remember. One sold with them for a high price. It was like a PSA 7. Then a PSA 10 came to market in January. And then a BGS 9 came to market in February with Golden. So what does it mean when a card that nobody has seen for 4 years suddenly sells 3 times back to back to back? To me, it means the card has become overpriced, at least from the point of view of some of the people who hold it, because they had spent years enjoying that card, and then it got to a point where they would rather have the dollar bills than the card itself. That's the ultimate tipping point when somebody decides to sell something. It's because the card is worth less to them at that price than the money is. And I'll give another example. The Luka Prism Gold. We go a long period of time without seeing one of these come to public auction. I'm talking about the Prism number 280, the base Prism PSA 10. Or any grade. We haven't seen one of those come to. We didn't see one of those come to auction or any public sale for 1.5 years, and then all of a sudden, one sells in February for a very high price. And guess what? Another one is at auction right now with Golden. So you go 1.5 years without seeing one, and then you go 2 months basically, and you see 2 of them, and the population is only 3. 66% of the people holding them decided to sell it. Probably means the card is overpriced. What do you think about that?
That's a great way to like reverse engineer that. I like that thought. I hadn't really thought of it that way. Like even for my own cards, when would I actually sell it? And the thought occurs that like when I think it's just way too overpriced and it's not worth it to me to hold that one card versus having the money that it represents or the money that I can get from it. And it's like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense anymore for me to hold this. It's too expensive. So that's an interesting way to reverse engineer it.
Yeah, and some people in the chat are kind of pointing out it might not that people sell for different reasons, and it's true. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. All right, let's move on to another question here. Rookie Patch Auto once again says, relatedly, what is driving the volume of high-end cards coming to market this month and the next? I think we just kind of touched on that. Basically, it's the rapid exponential gains. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, well, maybe like the FOMO of like the reverse FOMO of like missing out on selling your card for 5x what it was worth a year ago, like seeing everyone else cash in, potentially missing out on that same aspect.
Definitely. Okay. Next question. Cards and Candy 911 wrote, this hobby is getting too soft. People are starting to take things way too personally. And I chuckled at this comment. I put it to my Instagram story. I said, do you agree or not? 72% of respondents agreed that the hobby is getting too soft. Where do you fall on this topic?
Are we talking about like having thin skin around people talking about cards you own or something?
Could be. Could be. I don't know. There weren't many. Actually, this person wrote this comment, wrote several other comments. It was in the context of the Gary V thing, which we'll talk about in a minute here. So it was kind of in the context of that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess people have probably always had feelings, positive or negative about the cards they own or things they don't like in the hobby, things they do like. It's just that now we just can easily share those through Instagram and all these other social media platforms. So we just get exposed to more of the quote unquote complaining. I don't know that it's like heightened at this moment. We just maybe see it more, but yeah, I mean, this is like a fun escape, like as the primary focus for me. Like the hobby is fun for me and the community. So when I go and see people complaining and arguing over what's undervalued, overvalued, it's it's like, yeah, whatever, shut up and just like enjoy the cards. And I feel like we've always tried to lean into that aspect of it and trying to guide people and education on the cards and trying to understand what's out there and how they can improve their collections, etc., and less focus on the sort of like bitching, the day-to-day bitching of the hobby. But I don't really have much of a take on that.
That's good. No, it's good. That's one for the hobby to reconcile itself with. Are we too soft or not? Because if we are, what are we going to do? We're gonna look ourselves in the mirror tomorrow and stop being soft. I don't think it's that easy.
That's one of my pet peeves when people are like, the NBA today is so soft. It was so much better in the 90s. I just feel like, are you just like throwing shade at every professional athlete who's playing today? And could you even like sniff an NBA basketball court and be as tough as those guys? It's just like, who are you to make that statement? That's just so insane to me. To just say like these 250-pound like elite athletes, the best athletes we have in the entire world, like risking their bodies every night, running up and down the court, dunking, all these spectacular things that are happening, and we're like, oh, you guys are soft. It's like, what the fuck? Aren't you like at home watching them? Can't you just like enjoy the game? If you don't like it, don't watch it.
No, it's just remarkable in general how fans, myself included, have to have an opinion about everything.
Oh God.
Some of the joys of fandom, I suppose.
Like how many times can you dissect LeBron and Luka and Jordan? Like there's nothing left to talk about. Just watch them for God's sake. Just turn on the YouTube highlights and be quiet. Seriously, dude, I don't want to hear about how Luka has better court vision in his third year relative to LeBron and his oh my God, dude. They're both amazing. Just watch.
That's better advice, I think, than it might even be realized at first. Because not only does that improve the public airways, but it improves one's own life as well, to stop fixating and stressing over miniature. All right. Question from Card Porn.
The Lakers are winning.
What's the score? I didn't even realize they were playing tonight.
They're playing the Cavs, dude, without Colin Sexton. If they lose this game, just fucking pack it up. They're winning by 18. Okay. Continue.
There we go. All right. Next question from Card Porn. What does everyone think about Gary V and friends hype train? Does your opinion change if he and his friends pump a card that you happen to own? Would you like to take a swing at this? This is in reference, obviously, to a much discussed topic over the last few months, which is the 86 Fleer PSA 10. Gary's opinion is that it's destined to appreciate over the next 5 years. And then also, apparently, Gary and or people that he knows own numerous copies of this card.
Sure.
So that's the backdrop for this.
He's been doing this for a year now, 2 years. Like, this isn't new. It's not like I don't know that he's 100% blatantly just like trying to pump and dump his own cards. And also at this point, I don't think he's 100% genuine in that, like, yeah, I love this card and I want to see it do well. I think there's some like in between there probably. I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he's a kind person, and everything I've seen of him indicates to me that he's a good person, and I don't know that he's like intentionally sitting there trying to like pump and dump. But I mean, what's your expectation of him at this point? To me, it's all about like what's your expectation? Are you going above or below that? And so for him, this is his content. This is what it is. He does the undervalued, overvalued stuff. That's his content. And if you're expecting it to be all roses and him to only talk about the rare cards that you own, like, it's just not going to happen. So like, get that content from somewhere else. Like, if you don't like what he's saying, just stop watching it, I guess.
It's a fair result. I'll have to tell you, that day-long or half a day-long Card Talk podcast powered by eBay show that we were discussing earlier, and seeing Gary was either backstage or hosting segments throughout the whole thing, and then went over to Clubhouse afterwards and continued the discussion. And then you kind of look back over the last year and a half, his appearance at National, the consistency with which, he's been talking about cards. When the NFT hype was much higher than it is right now, which was about a month or two ago, maybe a little bit less. He posted a picture of himself with a desk full of all of his cards, and that collection was, it's tough to eyeball it, but probably bigger than anybody's collection who's in this chat right now. The guy,
Whoa, easy there, guy.
Am I off base on that?
I mean, hold up. I got a pretty nice collection, dude.
Dude, you do. I would estimate that there was between 8 and 9 figures worth of cards on that table.
I know, I'm just joking. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, this guy has amassed a conglomerate. I mean, there was a pile of Jordan Interlakes. Some of the stuff that was on that table is pretty impressive.
Well, the point is, like, he likes cards. He like really likes it. His skin is in the game. He's not going anywhere. He likes it. He's thrown shade on NFTs, not shade, but like cautioned it, and really put his weight behind cards. He spent an entire day doing the Card Talk thing. He's not here messing around.
No, and as is the case, I think, from our point of view on a lot of things, we don't get excited early. We want to wait and see. Let's not jump to conclusions. Let's just let time roll by, and we're still at that point. We're still waiting and seeing. But especially that show, it did alter my perspective a little bit and increase my respect for what he's doing for the community. He put together a stream focused around sports cards that had everybody from Allen Robinson to Dominique Wilkins to Pat McAfee on it, hosted by the great guys of Card Talk, Ryan, Lou, and Tyler. And it was just great content for the community. eBay was integrated throughout the whole thing. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. But he did it. And he did it for the content, for the sports card world. I thought it was a great vote of confidence. It's kind of ironic, but at this time, I look at, a lot, the totality here, and I like it. And I think it was needed. It was well-timed. It was some positive energy around cards that was pretty appropriate. And also, a lot of these cards, like the 86 Fleer, they have retreated quite a bit in the last month or two from their peak. Okay, quite a bit. And Gary was very bullish on them just a month or two ago, and now they've taken a step back, and maybe people didn't expect that to happen. But is he hiding from that? No, he's not. He's continuing to push.
Right. Still up like so fucking much. He's still like way more right than he's wrong. I don't understand, because it went down more recently than it went up. Like, it's still way up from when he started talking about it.
So, yeah, I mean, that's it. Now the other side of it here is that is not a discussion that should only be about Gary. It's a broader discussion about when people have a financial interest in a card, what is a responsible amount of pumping, basically. What is a responsible amount of discussing how much one likes the card, and then how much one thinks the card should be worth. I think that's a bigger question. Gary is part of it. Yeah. We're part of it. Everybody's part of it, right? So,
yeah, I think that's kind of like a social aspect to it. Like, how much would you feel comfortable bragging about yourself in person to another human before you start to feel uncomfortable about your own humility and lack thereof? To me, that's that's kind of the big aspect of it, is like how like insecure in yourself are you to just sit there and like pump your own stuff over and over and continuously talk about yourself and make it all about you, when the reality is this is a community of all of us and we're all here to share experiences and stories. And so it's like, how far from the social norm are you willing to deviate by continuously talking about yourself? Because when you do that kind of thing, you're going to get called out and people are going to start getting annoyed at you and they're going to start disliking you and you're going to be pushed from social boundaries. So that's like the first thing, you know, like you're going to be automatically policed out by people fucking sick of hearing you talk about the same card over and over and over and over. Second, you know, there's like maybe some lines of like actual fraud in play, but since there's no actual regulation in sports cards, you can't really like police that to like an actual legal level. So like I feel like right now at this point it's just the social self-policing. What do you think about that?
Great points. Great points. I love the heuristic of if you wouldn't say it in person, then don't say it on your Instagram story or whatever.
100%, especially in the last year where like a lot of people have come into the hobby in the last year and they haven't had to be at a show and be in person and talk about this stuff, and they haven't been in front of another human to talk about cards. So they're just like, oh, I got a little more leash here on the internet. I can just kind of fucking post the same thing as many times as I want. There's no real consequences. But would you do that at a show, a national, and like sit there in front of a dealer and like talk about one card for 20 minutes straight? Probably not.
No. And that's where we have to graciously pull each other's coattails every once in a while, so that we don't make fools of ourselves unwittingly. Now, some people are stubborn and they're not going to take the constructive criticism, and then at that point they're beyond help. But if you see something, say something, and see if we can help each other not look like fools.
Stranger danger.
Because I had to learn the hard way, seeing some other people do things that I myself would annoyingly do, like post nonstop about a player I like or something. And then I was like, this is what I look like, and doesn't come off well, and it's off-putting to other people. So let me just enjoy my own enthusiasm in my own way, and not force it upon others, basically. And do that without without becoming what's the word here, without becoming resentful or without becoming spiteful, that like, people don't want to hear about all the things that I like all the time. You don't have to get resentful about it. You just respect other people's points of view, try to make content and say things that are at once interesting and broadly applicable and not utterly self-serving, and then I think you've found the harmonious balance.
And one of the like attractive things about cards to me initially was that like not a lot of people liked it, and I've always enjoyed things that like the masses in the social world don't enjoy. Like people like to flash their fancy cars, so I literally just like to do the opposite and have like the shittiest car I can find. And I think it's like a fun thing for me. And cards are kind of the same thing, but now that cards are so popular and there's so many people in it, you kind of have to like drill down a level and try to find a niche within cards where you can kind of have your own little world that not everyone else thinks is popular, and you can kind of share that with a smaller subset of the community. And so to break from that and try to go into like, hey everyone, look at me and collect exactly what I do and you have to do what I think, is just like really breaking away from kind of the main reason a lot of people got into cards, which is ironic to me.
Yeah, so that's good. I think there is a counterculture appeal to sports cards in general.
Totally, dude.
I agree with that. I like that as well. So we do have this struggle that will continue as cards get more and more popular, even more and more mainstream, as more and more influential people get involved with them. We're going to have to somehow balance our desire to keep it in counterculture.
You always want to have that song that only you have heard. Christina knows. Like, I like to listen to stuff on Spotify. She creeps on me on Spotify. I like to listen to stuff.
Oh, you found out
that maybe not a lot of other people have heard about, But then every once in a while, got to bust out Taylor Swift and Justin Timberlake. That's how it goes.
Definitely. Let me tell a small story before we end this hour.
Oh, dude, this better be under 2 minutes. Come on.
All right, I'll keep it under 2. Sniper Manus says Card Ladder should have a tip line for hobby abuse. We do, my friend. We do. So the one thing that I stress about constantly is having good data and not putting bad data in front of people. And whether it's, a mistaken data point entered or here or whatever, it just drives me up the wall, a typo, whatever. I can't stand it. It really gets to me. So we allow users, and we have great users to help us monitor data. But sometimes that feature actually is abused. And so we have people write in sometimes, hey, why is this sale not in Card Ladder? And we had one happen about 3 months ago of somebody who was asking why a sale that sold for 3x the previous comps from the same week, and there was copies on eBay for much cheaper, and he was wondering, why is this sale excluded from the database? I bought the item. And I said, wow, okay, because what we want to do is reflect consummated purchases. So if you really bought the item, then all right, maybe we made a mistake. We shouldn't have excluded this sale. So please send over the evidence that you bought it. Well, he sends over the evidence that he bought it, but I can see on the screenshot of his eBay that he initiated a return on the item. Okay, so he bought the item for a 3x all-time high, but he's already initiated a return. So at that point, I have to explain, look, this is exactly the type of comp that we don't want to put in front of people. It's an item that is not representing a sale that actually ends up being consummated, but instead the item is being returned, right? So like, it's silly, it's funny, but yes, I take the policing of data and comps very, very seriously. The cleanliness of this data, having historical data, I take that stuff super seriously. So yeah, we are the homeland security of the hobby. All right,
Chris, you're doing the Lord's work. Every day, you're just like an angel with wings on earth. You're doing the Lord's work. I'm not being sarcastic. I'm dead serious. This motherfucker is a psycho about this stuff in a good way.
I am, man. We are. It's our philosophy here is that there has to be at least one place you can go where people actually care about what the data is, and it's vetted and it's reliable. There has to be one place that does that in this hobby. There is a market for this, but you need a lot of knowledge. You really need to know what you're doing, and
you taught me
you got to be a psycho too.
The data circle of death, I think that's what it's called. You taught me. And it's true. If you think about things that you trust in your day-to-day, it's like you trust data aspects when they've made almost zero mistakes. Like if you start letting mistakes slip in, you start letting things slide, then you just get this circular dependency of like, oh, just whatever, I let that one slide, then I'll let the next one, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't trust anything you've ever put out. Whereas if you're very strict, like you're talking about, and on top of that stuff, you can continuously keep that trust going, and hopefully we have that. I feel like we do. You can basically trust anything we've put out in terms of data, and that's important to us, and that's kind of our number one value. Even on the free site, like we're not hiding stuff behind the pro feature. I've heard some people say that like we only have pricing on pro, and that's absolutely not true. All the like relevant data from the last 3 months is free for the whole world to see. So like we're not hiding behind anything, and the data is very important to us.
Well said, man. Well said. We have a few minutes left here. I don't know. You ready to flip over to hour 2? Take a little break and then flip over to hour 2, hour 3 in 2 minutes.
Is there one more super quick important thing, like a big topic or something?
Yeah, there's a quick topic here, and it dovetails. So GS Sports 33 says 130 point is down. Outside of Card Ladder, what are the best alternatives? Nice question, guy. Okay, so the one alternative besides Card Ladder is TerraPeak, which is the subscription-based service that eBay offers that enables you to search and discover true prices. And we use it all the time to search and discover true prices on items that have been sold over the last year. So TerraPeak is a great alternative. It's a monthly subscription of, I think, $12 a month. TerraPeak, and it's supplied by eBay. So, the data is as good as it's going to get. But 130 Point is a great site, great team of people running it. I am sure they will be back up. But, it might take some time. So, don't go bailing on 130. But if you need an alternative in the meantime, TerraPeak is where it's at. So any Any further comments on this?
Nope.
Okay. All right, guys. We will take a 2-minute break and then be back because we haven't even gotten to the good questions yet.
Rest your vocals, Chris.
Looking forward to it. Hopefully it's adding him. There he is.
You
There
know,
he is!
my main memory of the first hour is Christina telling you to stop fidgeting with something.
I'm afraid that should have been the title when I posted the show. Just squeaky noise stopped by Christina, thankfully.
You're like in the middle of your rant. Hey, motherfucker. I was thinking about that during the break. Like, one of the best qualities of a loved one or a friend is like, they're the person who's least afraid to call you on your shit.
Yep, that's a Christina quality for better or worse there, isn't it?
This dude's on a pedestal here. Look at him going. He's going on these awesome rants, and people are praising him, and she's in the background. Hey, shut the fuck up with your squeaking.
Stop squeaking this stupid pen, because I'll sit here, I'll be going like this as I'm talking.
That's so true.
Show them what I gave you so that you don't make noise.
Christina gives me a hair tie instead, so now I'm going like this.
I'll spend a full day on Card Ladder and, people praising us on whatever feature we added or people all excited, and I come downstairs and she's like, what have you been doing all day? You didn't even help me fix the whatever. And it's like, oh, wow. I'm humbled super quickly that, like, I'm not as important as I thought I was.
No, that's the beauty of family. The family does not care at all.
No, my 5-year-old son does not care. He knows that I have my Card Ladder hat. He thinks it's a cool looking hat, but other than that, he doesn't understand any of that. So to him, it's just like, Daddy, what have you done for me lately?
Oh, that's great.
Apparently not enough, son.
Did the Lakers end up winning? Is that game still going?
They beat the miserable Cavs, thank goodness.
Yeah, good. That team might rattle off 1 or 2 more wins amid the 10 or 12 losses that are coming.
Kuzma had 4 points.
So who scored? Who was doing the scoring? Harrell?
Yeah. Harrell, Tucker, Schroeder.
Okay.
Morris. Yeah, it's a little bit of yeah.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. No. It turns out that in the NBA you need superstars. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah, I was thinking about there's not many teams that could lose their 2 best players and fare all that well.
Unless you're the Nets, apparently.
Right. That indeed. That's a good point. The Nets are the exception to that.
Well, I don't know. I feel like Kyrie running that team by himself would be kind of a disaster.
Yes. So they could lose 2 of their best players, but it has to be certain ones.
Right. Harden is definitely very well adept to running a team by himself. He's been doing it for. I love Ryan Russillo and Simmons' show. I always watch their podcast, and Ryan was like joking about how Rockets fans are like, "What the fuck? Now you guys like this? What Harden's doing? He's been doing it for us for 8 years now. And now all of a sudden you like to watch it? Like, what the hell? Now he's an MVP candidate, and you guys like to watch him dominate the ball by himself and run a team? It's what the heck?"
That's a completely valid point. Russillo and Simmons have an unusually high level of contempt for fan bases, which is very fun because they must take a lot of heat from different fan bases when they say something not so great about that team or their favorite player.
I don't know. Those two are my favorite. They're just like, they don't BS around it. They just get right to the meat, and they give really good. I can't stand like ESPN or SportsCenter anymore because it's just like so surface level. I really like to get into like the Zach Lowe's of the world and have them break down the games. Those two have a good mix of entertainment and like breaking down the games.
Agreed. 13 Publius, what gear did you get, if you don't mind mentioning it? I'm curious now. What Card Ladder gear did you get? Okay, we have a lot of time still.
Let's hat.
Go. Nice. Very nice. I probably have 8 hoodies now, maybe 8 Card Ladder hoodies. Yes, the Suns definitely hate the Ringer Network. All right, we had a lot of stuff on PSA, so let's mow down a few more serious topics here. Bunch of questions, and I want to read all the questions because like I find that like over the last year or so that we've been doing this show a little bit less, when a bunch of people start asking about something, something's up. People are something's up. So Hawks and Habs said, what are your thoughts on the letter that Collectors Universe President Joe Orlando recently released regarding the backlog at PSA? Mr. LAGN said, what are your thoughts on PSA's president stating that they receive 500,000 cards per week? Junk wax era? Question mark. Stein 213, are we in the junk slab era? Big J Basketball, will junk wax basketball PSA 10s hold their current value or will they crash? And then California Card Collector, what's up Sierra, said, any card letter data, is there any card letter data showing a softening in prices for raw cards because of PSA's backlog and price hikes? All right, so tons relative, well, let's not say tons, a handful of comments that all were getting at the same idea. Is this a junk slab era? Holy crap, 500,000 slabs per week, 500,000 cards being sent in for grading per week. Let's react to this for the people, my friend.
Yeah, I think it absolutely is the junk slab era, 100%. Like, this is what I was referencing earlier in the night when we were talking about what's different between today and the 90s, and we have to learn from our mistakes. And I feel like a vast majority of all this stuff that's getting graded in 10 years is just going to be completely worthless. Like, if the player doesn't turn out to be a mega superstar, even if you just like, if I just pick a random player in the 90s, I'll pick Tracy McGrady, who I feel has been a spectacular player for a very long time. If you look at the vast majority of his cards, like a lot of them are very cheap, very, very, very cheap. And he was a like, multi-time all-star, scoring leader. What if you take that same logic and apply it to someone like Mo Bamba or, you know, like Jaren Jackson Jr., if those guys don't become multi-time All-Stars and they've got even more PSA 10s than Tracy McGrady had, doesn't logic dictate that their stuff's just going to be almost worthless as time goes on? So, like, in that aspect, yes, we are in the junk slab era. There's going to be a ton of PSA slabbed cards that are, in the long run, going to be worthless. And I've always thought of grading as a kind of like an exclusive thing that you do, that you grade and slab something that has sentimental value or financial value to you, and you don't just like do it, you know, as frequently as it's been done recently. And that's going to catch up. Like eventually there's just going to be so much of that volume that like supply is just going to increase so much. So that's just kind of my personal opinion on it. You know, people want to grade obviously because it makes financial sense. People are flipping, making money. That makes sense to me. I understand why they're doing it. I don't know. I'll pause for a second. I have a couple more opinions, but I'll pause.
Do you think PSA didn't raise their prices high enough?
On the cheap stuff, yeah. I would have just like raised the price. I would have just like really deterred people from sending like the bulk cheap stuff. Because I think even now it's still like, isn't it like still $20 to grade a card with like basically it's gonna take a year to get it, but it's still $20. Like that didn't really deter people much.
Yeah, I think my opinion, and it's very difficult to give this opinion because nobody's going to like it, but I think PSA didn't increase their prices enough. And therefore, there still is an incentive to grade all these cards. And on the back end, it's just like you said, what's going to end up happening is that too many cards get graded. I can remember selecting the stuff that I was going to send in for grading. And if I could go on eBay and find a comp of it, a PSA 10 sold for $100, why the hell wouldn't I grade that? You kidding me? What, I'm not going to make $90, but here's the fallacy in that thinking potentially. The card is worth $100 at that time when there were not as many graded copies, and you know, when perhaps a PSA 10 pop was a fraction of what it will be in a year for that particular card. So the gamble and the risk and the fallacy potentially lying in that way of thinking is not understanding how the supply can change. So, you know, 500,000 cards a week. I think of any metric that sums up the growth of the hobby and the risks that the hobby faces in one number. It's the fact that 500,000 cards are being graded a week. So on the one hand, or being submitted. I'm sorry, I keep saying the wrong thing. 500,000 are being submitted a week. I think on the one hand, it speaks to the growth. There are people sending $500,000 or 500,000 worth of cards, spending millions of dollars cumulatively to grade these cards. That's very optimistic from these people. It's bullish from these people to invest that money up front and then get back slabs on the back end. It's a very, very positive. It shows a very positive mindset from people on how they think the hobby is cumulatively, and it shows that there's a lot of people involved in the hobby. But the flip side, the risk side, is that we're going to create this junk wax era, and if we have a junk wax era, what's the long-term ramifications of that? So let's let me let you hop back in here. What are some other thoughts you have on this?
Yeah, I mean, people's like initial reaction to me saying that there's just too much and that stuff's going to crash is that, like, yeah, those players are active and there's going to be a market for them and there's going to be value in a lot of that stuff. So to grade it and sell it for more in today's market, I understand that. Like, I understand people buying Trae Young today and wanting to, flip it a month from now, 6 months from now. I guess I was more thinking like long-term thinking, where we're talking about, this is the junk wax era of the 90s. This is going to be the junk slab era. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when most of that stuff is worthless, we're going to look back and say, oh my God, why did we grade 20 million cards when like only 1 million of them were worth grading? Well, because we got excited and prices were going up and the premium on slabs made sense at the time. That explains it, right? Same thing can be said for people defending themselves of why they bought stuff in the 90s, right? Like, because prices were going insane at the time, we were making money and it was fun and shops were opening. There's all these like in the moment reasons that make sense. But if you're asking me about like the long-term ramifications of how many cards are being graded today, yeah, dude, there's going to be so many fucking slabbed cards 20 years from now where we're like, holy crap, why were people grading 10,000 MPJ base cards when he ended up being a bust, or
Yeah.
whoever it is.
Yeah. We don't know how many base cards are made, in particular. Base rookie cards, base Prism rookies. We don't know print runs. They're not stated. But here's something. 2018 Prism basketball, like Luka now, PSA 9s and PSA 10s, there's about 25,000 across those two grades. 25,000. So nobody was expecting the 2018 rookie class to be what it became. There wasn't Zion-like hype going into the 2018-19 class. How did Panini decide to print that much product for that rookie class? And, some of the answers might be, well, they saw this rising interest in sports cards and, they had the data, they had the metrics, they were able to see it. But that's a big bet that they made, that they were going to print all that product without, the year before Zion was coming, right? Like, so maybe it was a stroke of brilliance, but there also might be a lot more base cards out there even still than we realize. Okay, but let me tell the other side of that story too. What happens if we do support this? What happens if cards do the market does continue to grow and people continue to enjoy it and people continue to stay and bring in more and more people, and it happens as it has happened so far in a very managed fashion where, it's not like it's a sudden spike and then nothing, but instead it's very gradual. We've seen that over the last 5 years. Of course, with 2020 being more accelerated for sure. But what happens if it continues to be gradual and we can support all these slabs? What about that? What if it plays out that way? That possibility at least has to be acknowledged as well.
Sure. And the other side of this is that, like, as someone who has a niche in what I collect and what I look for, I honestly don't even care how much they keep printing. You guys can print 1 billion cards. I don't care, because like you can't go back to 2003 and print more LeBron rookies. The stuff that I chase is like a set in stone physical limitation to being able to replicate or reproduce more supply of something like that. The supply is set in stone for the stuff that I'm looking for, and like I just, like I don't collect the modern stuff, but I understand like the actual economic ramifications of like them printing more and it affecting price on like the older stuff that I do collect. So like I'm not naive to that fact, but as a collector whose primary goal is to obtain some of those items, there's a physical limitation set that I can't be affected by this modern stuff as much. So the reason I bring that up is like the more that we as consumers buy that stuff and the more we grade cards, the more we push the demand for it, those companies are just going to keep printing more cards to try to meet that demand. Like you can't expect Panini to like slow down printing thinking like, oh, I want to make sure that collectors have this like really great outreach long term and they don't want to be looked at as this junk slab, junk wax era. Like I better calm down and take a step back. That's not going to happen. Like if we keep lining up outside of Target to buy shitty retail boxes, guess what? They're going to print more retail boxes. That's just how it goes. Like this is corporate America. This is capitalism. They're going to keep printing more. And if you want to keep grading slabs and paying high dollar for it, guess what? They're going to grow their business and keep allowing you to grade more slabs, and they're going to 10 more grading companies are going to keep popping up and stuff. So if you don't want that stuff, stop buying it. Like apparently you do want it because that's what you're buying.
Yeah, dude, no doubt. We've seen it play out enough for long enough. And it has to be said too, at this point in time, the prices that Prism Base are maintaining, for example, Zion, Prism Base, PSA 10, all of them are very strong considering how much the populations have gone up. So these cards, in some instances, like the instance of Zion, is worth about the same or more than it was 6 months ago, and the population has doubled. In a certain sense, from the market cap point of view, the card has increased in value because there's more copies on the market and it's maintained its price level. In the case of Luka, it has gone down over the course of doubling, but it hasn't lost half of its value. At a certain point, you have to look at it. You have to say, okay, more copies keep coming. The population keeps expanding, but damn it, there's 10, 20 people a day on eBay alone paying a lot of money for copies of these cards.
Yeah, this is where the demand is today. You can't argue with where the money's being put, and so if that's what people want, they're going to keep printing more. Supply, meet my friend, demand.
Yeah, and there are also, like I think you were alluding to, there's also alternatives. There's always alternatives to this. Thanks to the great era of the late 90s in particular, the mid to late 90s, when sports card companies were solving some of the initial problems of access, serial numbering came out. And memorabilia cards came out. And short printed parallels came out. And these still exist today. And it's tricky. Not everything numbered to 99 is equally as desirable or as rare. But if you learn the hobby, you learn the products, you learn the brands, you learn what people like, you learn the market, you can buy rare items and highly desirable ones at that. Is that fair?
Yep.
Good. But the junk slab era, that people are thinking and worrying about that more and more. And the email that came down that said 500,000 cards are coming into PSA a week may have opened eyes.
That's 26 million cards in a year. 26 million slabs in 1 year. Well, assuming those all get graded.
Is Lefko still in here? Lefko had a question. He
Like
says
to every 10 humans in the United States. Go ahead.
that's a crazy way to look at it. He said, I feel down about the hobby. Do you have anything to cheer me up?
Down about the hobby in regards to like negativity on social media, or like I'm not sure the take. I guess like find cards you like and throw yourself in that area of cards. That's kind of what I was also alluding to with my earlier rant, was like I have the things that I like in cards, and so because of that, like I'm just not affected by all these other changes around me in cards. So like maybe try to find that space for yourself. What is it in cards that you like about it? If you just like making money in cards and flipping cards through grading them, yeah, I would guess that like your temper is gonna change based on like all these changes that are forcing you to make that change. But if you're just collecting cards you enjoy and finding a niche within it you like and connecting with hobby friends, like that can go on forever. You can just sit there and like infinitely connect with your friends over the hobby. You can post social media stuff about it that makes you happy. You can find your area of the hobby that infinitely makes you happy and move around that niche or jump over to different things. Like you kind of create your own happiness in the hobby. And if you don't like it, if you're not having fun, then it's time to step back and look for something else.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Good advice. And yeah, I mean, even though I do the hobby every waking hour now, as you do as well, the escapism that I experience, the fun that I experience from being able to talk to other collectors and community, and then open up, my collection and look at cards. Those two things have never brought me more joy and escapism and all the things that we like about cards. It's never been stronger than it is right now. So that's just to back up your point that like, look, the cards and the community, that is the key to enjoying this hobby every damn day.
I think we live in a time in history with the economy structured the way it is and technology the way it is, where anything is possible. Anything you want to do as an individual, if you want to pursue making money, if you want to pursue whatever career you want, there's education outlets for you to pursue that. Obviously, there's like varying degrees of how difficult that might be for an individual based on their current life structure or whatever. So I'm kind of removing that variable, but anything's possible. So like, if you're not happy in cards, go find happiness somewhere else. There's something for everyone in the whole world. There's just everything's at your fingertips these days. You can always find something. So if you're in a rut with cards, do something else. Find something else fun for you. And this is like kind of like I've been talking about this more and more, obviously, because I quit my main job and focused on cards because this is what I'm just maximizing my happiness at this point. I'm just going all in on. Dude, this is what makes me happy, so I'm going to do this a lot more. And everything that doesn't make me happy, fuck off.
Dude, right on. And also, one final thought here. The hobby is going to experience growing pains right now and in the future. And there is going to be stuff that will be annoying. There's annoying stuff going on right now, no doubt about it. Hobby is encountering a lot of things for the very first time. And it's just going to take time.
Look what Chrissy Bucket said.
You don't read that.
We should start getting more involved with the comments because they're getting funnier as we get later in the night. Someone said, find another addiction if you're not happy. Gambling, sex, and alcohol.
That's good. That's good.
That's
good stuff. All right.
Yeah, we need Lefko to stay though. That's true. Like, don't leave us, man. We need your insight to the actual athletes and the connection there, and sort of like the different perspective you bring. So I hope you stay. So if there's something Chris and I can do, please let us know.
I mean, he just said he's not going anywhere. He just wanted to be cheered up a little bit. Which that's not unusual. There are times in the last year or so when you look across the hobby and social media, in the last 3 months, and you see some stuff that will piss you off.
Well, I don't know if I'd be going to Chris for cheering me up about the hobby. I'd be going to Chris for giving me a 7-minute diatribe about pop reports. But if you're looking for
Yep, I agree. That's why I just let you answer that question, because I could take that question a million different ways.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Sex, drugs, and cards. What else do you need? That's amen to that.
And not in that order either.
Nah.
You got the order backwards.
Wait. Card, drug. Okay, yeah. Jeez.
Right? Okay.
What is it like? Marry. What is that thing? Marry, date, Kill or whatever.
Yeah, we had a question about this last time.
Mary Boff Kill.
Yep. Yes, I will, Rodman. Don't make me do it tonight. All right. DZ Cards says, if you could get your grail of all grails, but it meant never buying another card for life, would you do it? And what would that card for you be?
No, I would definitely not do it. I would definitely, you know why? Because what's the one thing you know about grails, Chris, that I also know? Once you get it, what's the one
On to the
thing
next. You ready for the next?
on the next? And so if you get that last one, it's over. No way.
I couldn't agree with that more.
No way. It's the one of one super finest gold X-Fractor McBobber LeBron.
Oh, that's
the
that
technical term for it.
I know what you're talking about. It's with Bob, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna just make him an offer he can't refuse.
There you go.
And then quit the hobby forever, apparently.
Yeah, let me hear from the chat as well. Carvin's is LeBron RPA 99. If he gets that, it's over for him. Okay, that's great.
What's the one of one grail if you had to quit? Actually, yeah, pose it that way. If I could only give you one more card for the rest of your life and you could never buy another one, what's the one card you're getting? And it doesn't have to be, and you can't sell it. You can't sell it.
Yeah, it's a very different question, and especially when you throw in you can't sell it part, then it's super easy. It's the Jordan PMG green.
If you could sell it, people are just like PSA 10 mantle. I'll just sell it.
right, exactly.
If you can't sell, okay, so MJ green. That card is in my top 5 of that list. I love that card.
Me too.
I low-key think that was the biggest steal in the history of cards this year.
There was, late 2020, a copy sold on Heritage, PMG, PSA Authentic, sold for $900K.
Undervalued. If I was a Jordan collector and you told me that was going to sell for $900, I'd be like, bro, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Let's get together a group of people or something, or sell a bunch of stuff, second mortgage. Like, let's get creative here. That's a card that, like, bro, there's 10 copies. Come on. It's the best card. It's MJ's best card.
It's definitely his non-one-of-one best card.
And he's the best player in the history of sports, and it's his best card. And there's only 10 copies. So, like, let's get creative.
Yeah. And when you think about the PMGs, the red and green thing, it only happened 1 year. They just did it once. There's no other PMG green.
That's what I'm talking about. You could print 1 billion Luka Prisms. You can't make more MJ Green PMGs from 1997. There's only 10. And apparently there's only 9, right? So, like, dude.
Oh, right, because they told you, you had guests on Cardboard Chronicles years ago who told you that one had been ripped in half.
I don't even, like, I'm not a Jordan collector, but if I had that card, oh my gosh, I would cherish it so much.
Yeah, no, that's got to be the one.
I would force you to fucking pay me so much money to get it. You'd be way nicer to me than you are today.
Yeah, well, you ever want to test that theory, just go get that green and see how nice I could be.
Yeah, fix the site. Oh, maybe I don't want to fix it today.
All right, Kings Angels 22 says, do you see the trend of no off-season dip for the NFL happening with other sports as well?
Kinda, yeah, honestly. Like, I feel like the dip now is in season because the trend is reversed and people are trying to, like, buy cards to be ahead of the curve, and they're actually, like, the in season is when it's going to dip, because then it's like people are watching and reacting and realizing they made a mistake, or like the hype wasn't there or whatever. So, like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Can you speak on that to the data? Like, someone was asking about earlier about, like, the raw cards maybe dipping based on the PSA price changes. So maybe answer that one, but also, like, basketball in season prices.
I don't know about raw prices dipping. I just don't know. We have a lot of raw cards. I welcome anybody to go look at it and tell me, because raw cards value too much from day to day. One will be $12, and it'll be $4, then it'll be $6. It's like it's hard to identify a pattern when you're on a day to day thing. And then look, Gronkowski, his Topps Chrome PSA 10 rookie just set a ridiculous record high yesterday. It sold for like $2,300 in the PWCC football auction. Why the hell? It was the previous sale was like $500 or something. And Brady. Okay, Brady has taken a step back, by the way. A lot of his cards have cooled off, but then other ones have come up on the radar. That people weren't thinking about before, like the Bowman Chrome Refractor PSA 9 just sold for like $120,000 yesterday.
What about in-season basketball?
Okay, so in-season basketball, oh man, it's just so weird because like there was that whole GOAT movement, that happened in like January in the Dallas Card Show, and like Jordan PSA 9 Fleers are at 90 to 100K, and now they've come all the way down to like 50, 45 to 50, and it's like, well, Jordan's not playing, but Kobe rookies, same thing. LeBron Chrome, same thing. Interestingly, not in some of the other LeBron rookies, but the Topps Chrome one. And same thing with Jordan. So even though the Fleer went parabolic and then corrected, the 84 Star has not done anything but go up ever since this GOAT thing happened. So
what about like active?
I don't know what that means.
Players? What about like active players Prism Silver PSA 10?
Yeah, so that's why I'm connecting it, because it's like clearly those are down or have at least not gone up. Even, the most promising looking people, there are some exceptions, like Nick Claxton's cards are picking up some momentum right now. Nikola Vucevic, his Prism Silver just set an all-time high, and his Prism Base. Tobias Harris, some of these like niche things that like are being discovered now, those are doing well, but the vast majority of stuff, especially the people that all the eyes are already on, Ja Morant, Zion, Luka, Trey, these cards, in the case like the Luka Silver, those are selling PSA 10 like 8K to 8,500, which obviously is not where people were hoping that card would go. They were hoping it would be solid 5 figures by now, but it started to get at 10 and then it went in the other direction. Same thing, very similar trajectory for all those guys. But the reason why I point out the GOATs is just because, like, well, they're all kind of is it like the whole sport kind of breathes and retracts as that's that the season of that sport itself plays itself out. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like again, like everyone that makes content has to like have some opinion or reaction or take on all these different aspects of in-season prices, gains. And if you like, when you and I dig into the data, like the data kind of tells a different story from a lot of what the content creators are telling you. And so like, I'm not sure that there is like a very strong pattern one way or the other, because it's all like, it depends. Are you talking about active players, past players? Are you talking about rare cards, common cards, PSA 10 cards, BGS 9.5? There's all these different. The market is constantly shifting, moving up and down and around. The demand is shifting depending on what's going on at the time. So like, it's really hard to just give like blanket patterns of, oh yeah, buy this guy at this time and you'll get rich, and then sell it. Like if it was that easy, then everyone would be doing it, and then it wouldn't be easy, right? So like the market just keeps correcting itself in that manner.
That's so true. The only things that are going to be consistent, I think, that I would say with a high level of confidence right now, are the things that are not predictable, such as player X, blows up and suddenly is a stud and nobody saw it coming. Or a player gets traded. And so all of a sudden it's funny how the optimism works on trades, because Wendell Carter and Nikola Vucevic cards both went up yesterday. Okay. So what? So both teams won the trade, or what is this?
Okay, maybe people are excited about teams.
Yeah. So just a little piece of news, unexpected news, can spur somebody's market. But like, that's that. If somebody exceeds expectations dramatically, those are the things that are going to boost a market no matter what, I think. But
the funniest one is when the news happens and then people get all excited and go buy that, like when Blake Griffin went to the Nets. It's like, oh my gosh, he's going to be an integral part to the Nets. And like, I got to go buy his cards. And then he plays like 10 minutes and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. He's,
Yep.
like the 5th best player.
Yep, I totally agree with Lou. Hope springs eternal. It's a hallmark of sports fandom in particular. We all have an optimism about our team, going back to cards or not, whether cards are involved or not. We all, even the Chicago Bears, they now have as their quarterback the Red Rifle. The one guy we could possibly have gotten that will probably be worse than Mitch, but we are still following the news, hoping for our team. If a Chicago Bears fan can have hope, any sports fandom, it's all about optimism and hope. It really is, and that carries a lot of this hobby as well.
Dang, Blake Griffin had 20 tonight. Good for him.
Good, yeah. He had a dunk the other day too that was nice.
Yeah, it was so shocking that he was like looking around like, oh my god, did I just dunk the ball? That's one of the most random backboards ever.
You have any thoughts on Drummond and or Aldridge?
I think Aldridge going to the Heat is like basically a done deal, right? I think I heard that.
Yeah.
And Drummond is leaning towards the Lakers.
Okay.
I like Drummond. Every time I watch Drummond play against the teams I'm rooting for, I'm always impressed with him. I'm not a fan of guys who can't shoot free throws and like the traditional big is obviously like kind of a dying breed, but like I always thought he was really good. Like he's just like a very good rebounder, good shot blocker, good. I thought he had like skilled offensive moves. I just always was impressed with him. He always like played well against teams that I was rooting for, so I think he would be a welcome addition to any team.
Okay. Let me get to another question here. BBB4391. Will late 90s basketball age like early 50s basketball has? Which eras will last? Which eras will not? Excuse me.
I mean, late 90s basketball has definitely gotten a lot of love over the last few years, deservedly so. So I think that'll keep aging well. I mean, to me, like we've said this so many times, just in terms of eras that are important to us, late 90s basketball and mid 2000s exquisite, I've just always like stood out to us as collectors. So those will continue to be popular long term.
One-on-one card says, how do you remain liquid so you don't miss a grail? Do you just save cash? Do you trade and send cards to auction?
Another thing I thought of recently that I think is a good option. I mean, cards themselves are very liquid. You know this. Like when you're ready to buy something big, you can just sell the cards you have pretty easily. Another option I like.
As long as you price them fairly.
Yeah. That's my biggest pet peeve. I was thinking you could send your stuff to PWCC and keep the proceeds you sell for as credit and just sort of like wait. Because, dude, PWCC has awesome cards in this current run right now. Awesome stuff. I mean, I'm very biased, but like their LeBron run is just freaking awesome. So many.
They had a
sick
great
LeBron
Peyton Manning run too that ended yesterday.
You can almost just like keep your proceeds with them as credit for like 2 to 3 auctions, and I guarantee you're going to find lots of stuff to spend that money on, and then you sort of like have some tax advantages to that scenario there. So I've always liked that as an option to stay liquid, is like maybe have stuff selling with PWCC pretty consistently, or maybe the other auction houses, they sort of offer that same kind of thing, so you can apply that to the others. But cards themselves are liquid. Having cash, I don't know, cash is good. I know like it shows it's important, but cash is like the cheapest thing you can have right now. It's easier to get cash than it is cards.
Dude, here, let's do a little thought experiment here. Let's just go with this card because why not? It's been through a roller coaster. So let's say in early December, I don't know, around December 5th, you said, I'm going to save cash and I'm going to, I'm just going to wait for my grail. I'm going to save cash and I'll just wait. and wait for my grail to pop up. Well, from the period of early December, let's say, let's go with this. On December 6th, the card ladder 50 index was at 11,000 points. Today, it's at 29,000. So that means basically all the cards in the card ladder index 3x'd. So if you had just said, I'll hold my cash and I'll wait for a card, stuff pretty much 3x'd while you were waiting.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden,
yeah,
you're, if let's say you had your eyes on a grail that you wanted to get for 30 grand in early December, but you were just waiting for it to show up and you didn't buy it until now, it very well could be, instead of a 20 grand card like it was in December, it could be a 50, 60 grand card now. Just by sitting there and comparing the appreciation of your cash versus the appreciation of cards. That is the cleanest data-based example of why I think, I'm never going to sit there and wait for a grail.
Yeah.
I'd rather own cards. Now, there's a lot of risk involved with that. So you can't really just say that without explaining, yeah, but guess what? The value of cards can go down, and the value of some cards can go down, and some others might not. So that always has to be contemplated. But, there's some data that speaks to the fact that if you just have cash, you just wait for a card to pop up. You might
I don't always have cash on hand, but when I do, I immediately spend it on cards.
Sounded like a slogan for a commercial or something.
I can't remember the last time that I just you know what? I'm going to fucking build up cash for the next 2 months and just see how much cash I can build in 2 months, and then I'll go buy some. Nope, doesn't work like that. It's always, oh gosh, I got to move all these cards because I've just been buying cards along the way every day, all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's always going to be the risk of holding cash, is that your dollar is going to go 1/3 as far as it went 3 months ago. That is the risk. All right. Most of the 90s basketball cards, record keeping of card transactions. How do you keep track of everything?
Card ladder.
Beautiful. And spreadsheets can help too. Mike Pinkerton 50. What is the craziest Zag card you have ever bought?
Definitely the Roger Federer pre-rookie. It was it's not the XRC, but kind of like an XRC. It's just a super oddball card for me. I usually like to stick to my lanes, but with Federer, I just was getting really frustrated. I couldn't put my arms around what cards were important. I just sort of zagged into something.
That's a fun one. I remember that. Drake's PC said card prices.
Nope. Stop. Nice try there, guy.
Yeah, I thought about this question when it came in. I don't know.
That's a technical foul on the bald guy.
I don't know. I don't have any crazy Zags. I wish I did.
Here, I'll help you.
Okay.
You and your one-on-one second year Luca rampage you went on.
Okay. I'm still on that Zag as well. Now I'm looking for third years. That's definitely a Zag.
Did you guys get that Net Marbles one?
Sold for 10,000, man.
Ooh, so no.
And I had a counter from the guy at 10,177. And I said, this is too high. Can't do it.
All right, go to your next question since you didn't want to talk about this one. Go ahead.
I just don't have a fun answer to that one like you do. My answer's boring.
Yeah.
All right, Drake's PC says card prices in March 2020 are inexpensive compared to today. What about March 2022, 1 year from now? Will card prices seem cheap from today, or will they seem expensive?
Ugh, man, I don't know.
Predict the market, please.
I know. I don't like getting in the game of predicting prices, Chris. It just puts me in a really uncomfortable position to.
I know.
I just don't want to do it. You know, like, I don't know, the stuff that I own is going to go up and the stuff that you own is going down. That's how I feel about it. Isn't that the right answer? Isn't that how it goes?
I think so. I think that is how it goes. I'll say this. If cards in March 2022 are not more expensive than they are than they are right now, something probably went wrong. Something happened in our trajectory or the development or the course of the hobby that would throw us off of the current trajectory that we're on right now.
Yeah, my
worth.
intuition is to say it will be higher in 2022 based on like the intimate knowledge that I have of the hobby and like what I see on a day-to-day basis through card ladder data and our card ladder user base growing and people entering the hobby. Like, there's a lot of data that would indicate to me that the hobby is going to be higher in 2022. And that's pretty much, I'll leave it at that.
That's a good point. Let me add one last thing, though. Ever since March 6th, which is 20 days ago, the card ladder index has either declined or been flat.
Sure.
So on March 6th, 30,253 points. And today it's at 28,746. And that's not the low. The low is about 28.4, but still the index has only gone down or flatlined basically for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. Lefko had a post about this recently. I saw a story, you know what I'm talking about, where he said,
Zoom out.
Zoom the fuck out, sir. And this is my beef with the Jordan Fleer PSA 10 people who are getting all crazy about prices going down. Let me zoom the fuck out and show you that card was $90,000 like super recently, and now it's $492,000. If I would have told you it would have went from $90,000 to $492,000, you would have been fucking thrilled. If I told you that, okay, the caveat is at one point, you know, it went above and came back down. Oh, that's okay, just as long as, but we're such a prisoner of the moment where it's like, oh my gosh, it's gone down 30%. Oh my God, like the sky is falling. We're going to be crashing. The market's going down. Dude, it just went up fucking 7x. Let it come back down a little bit. It's okay. Like, overall, zoom the fuck out. Look at the hobby. The question was a year from now, which is I'm okay answering that question more so than like, is the hobby going to go up or down in the next 2 weeks? I have no idea. This stuff's changing so fast. It just went up so much, probably going to go down a little bit over the next year with the growth, people joining the hobby, with you know, people getting more excited about the addition of more content, the exposure through all these different avenues, athletes joining, blah, 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 blah. Overall, over the next year, if you zoom the fuck out, it's going to go up. But if you just get caught up in these little week-to-week waves, you're going to get destroyed and you're going to want to go crazy.
Maybe that speaks to Lefko's question as well, because he was saying, hey, I'm feeling a little down right now. Can you cheer me up? And it just so happens to coincide with the fact that some of the big cards are down a little bit from their peak right now.
Dude,
zoom out.
His answer, that his own advice is the answer to his own question. Zoom the fuck out, Adam. Look at this thing from a macro level. Don't get so caught up in the day-to-day ups and downs of cards, and let's figure out what's going to make you happy over the next year. Just do a year, which is not even a long time. In any financial market, people will tell you, you shouldn't be paying attention to a year graph. You should be looking at like 10, 20 years. And if you look at cards over 10, 20 years, they are absolutely fucking crushing every other market, every other financial institution. Cards are destroying. And so take some solace and some excitement in that and zoom out and figure out what's this going to do over the next 10 to 20 years. And if you're bullish on the hobby overall, get in the market, have some fun, figure out what you like, buy what you like. And don't worry about this like, oh, it just went down 20% and went up. Like, that's just how it's going right now. I overall would be cautious to people coming into the hobby just because of how well it's performed over the last year or so, 6 months, it feels like, gosh, 1 month even. The last 3 months, it's been doing so well. So I'm cautious to tell people like, hey, go buy sports cards, even though it just 5x. Like, that's just, that puts me in a very nervous, uneasy position to tell people that. All that said, if I'm taking the zoom the fuck out approach, I still like sports cards overall.
Rodman asked for a rant an hour or two. And that, I think, that delivered, my friend. That definitely delivered right there. I don't have anything to add to that. That was great. All right, Card Collector 824 says, when Elgin Baylor died, his autographs all sold and prices spiked. Scum flippers or people who sincerely miss him?
I'm going to take the positive approach and said people sincerely missed him, even though that's probably not right.
Yeah, no, this is a very difficult topic, and it became extremely difficult last year for obvious reasons. It's unfortunate, and it doesn't resonate well with me at all if people are collecting items that represent a human being with the hope that they will make money off of it, because other people are going to increase how much they want to collect this human being because they just died.
Yeah.
It's just a very uncomfortable topic and situation. And, but at the same time, we don't want to have blinders on, and we don't want to, pretend like we don't understand that indeed, when a legend like Elgin Baylor dies, people do want to collect them more. It's just, it happens. We can sit here and be upset about it, but it's going to happen either way. But the thing that gets really tough is when people buy somebody whose items just died because they want to make money off of the fact that this person just died, and they're going to be collected more because of it. And there are things like their autographs got more scarce. Now, here's where I really get worried. And this will add a touch of levity, but it's also a serious concern. How many tens of billions of dollars in gains were realized when, rest in peace, Kobe passed away and all of his collectibles and memorabilia is appreciated? I mean, if I'm an athlete who's retired, and when I pass away, people are going to make tens of millions of dollars, I start to feel kind of nervous about my personal security and my safety as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah, my take on this is like, whenever someone like that passes away, or anyone really, like, I take that moment to like look back and celebrate that person. And Elgin Baylor, I started to like look into some whatever video clips I could find and some history on him, and dude, he was fun. He was good. He averaged like 27 points in his career. I mean, that's like a really, really tough number to get to average that many points.
He had like a 38-19 season.
Dude, he was a beast. Elgin Baylor was like, a lot of people were crediting him with like being one of the first like ultra athletic players. And what I mean by that is like, you get into like your Dr. J, and then you got your Magic Johnson, your Michael Jordan, your LeBron, sort of like that lineage of like the super athletic guy. And a lot of them go back to attribute their idol to Elgin Baylor. Because if you think about like the 40s and 50s, you don't necessarily think about like super athletic dunking type guys, but Elgin Baylor, maybe a lot of people would attribute him being as like the first super athletic, dominate you with your athleticism type player. And I just think that's awesome.
He did it while being employed by the military, and he essentially moonlighted as a basketball player while then was serving as a reservist, I believe it was. Bill Simmons analogized what Elgin Baylor did in the 60s. He said it would be as if somebody was dunking from the 3-point line today. It was that interesting and impressive what he was doing at that time.
Wow.
Just a very different era. Elgin Baylor was involved in a plane crash into a cornfield. It was I think the closest an American sports team ever came to perishing in aviation accident, and he survived. I mean, Bill Simmons has like he reads a 20-minute article that he wrote about Elgin Baylor on a podcast last week, and it's just filled with gems like that. It was great. I didn't know that much about Elgin Baylor, admittedly, ashamedly, and now I do. It's pretty. He's got a really cool story. It made me want to go get one of his cards.
Yeah, that's why I kind of took
him all the time, so we probably have a bunch of his cards.
Okay.
That's why I took the positive approach to that question, which was like, me digging into Elgin Baylor and looking at all this stuff made me want to fucking buy one of his cards. So maybe that's the silver lining to that question, is like maybe a lot of people thought that same thing and they thought, you know what, let me go get an Elgin Baylor card. That'd be sick. I did hear the fact that he was like 0-8 in the finals and he never won a championship, which is insane. He just, he ran into those Celtics teams along with Jerry West. I think Jerry West was like 1-9 in the finals. And I also read that the year that Elgin Baylor retired, I think before the season ended, was the year that they actually won the title without him. So that was kind of a bummer for him. But
in fact, he retired. I believe the story is that he retired 9 games into the season that the Lakers finally won.
Yes, and so imagine the criticism that dude would get in today's modern game of getting to 8 finals and not winning a single one. He would be ripped to shreds. And instead, I'm happy to see that we're actually celebrating him and not bringing him down on his 0-8 finals. Again, I want to do that to this modern player, and I want to be able to celebrate every player we have and enjoy their games and I try to take the positive spin on that. Great player, and definitely will be missed.
Yeah, 100%. And it goes back to that theme for a second time of zoom out. Don't focus on one season, one game, one series. Zoom out, look at the totality of the career, and you'll find a lot. You'll find yourself enjoying a lot more rather than nitpicking.
Yeah, more enjoying players, less nitpicking, please. I know that the media and the hot takes are better or whatever, more clickbaity if you say a negative thing about a player, but good God. There's so much talent in the NBA.
Prime Finders says, please discuss the swings and misses you have experienced in the hobby. Who and why? Swings and misses. Nice baseball metaphor for a card question.
Oh.
I can start. You want me to go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I bought a bunch of Christian McCaffrey cards at the peak last fall, but I don't consider it a swing and a miss because I love the cards and I never even thought about selling them, and I'm still buying more of them. Look what the first card I have sitting right here. Speaking of non-rookie one-of-ones, a 2020 Optic gold vinyl one-of-one Christian McCaffrey. I have to stay off of my phone from buying things, or else I'm gonna just buy every Christian McCaffrey card I see. Okay, but is it a swing and a miss? I mean, from the investment point of view, it totally was. I highly doubt the collection is worth what I spent on it. So,
yeah, I don't want to sound like arrogant, kind of the same way you don't, but there's not really a swing and a miss if you're buying stuff you enjoy and you like. I do have one. I tried to buy a bunch of Brandon Ingram cards when LeBron signed with the Lakers, and I just thought, I don't know, LeBron's coming to the Lakers, Ingram's going to be their second best player. He's going to really benefit greatly from having LeBron, and I bought a lot of his stuff in the preseason of that year, and it just got crushed. I lost a lot of money on Ingram cards. And I just overlooked the fact that buying preseason and hype was the worst time to buy, and also being the second best player to LeBron does not help your hobby love necessarily. I'm even learning that with AD, his stuff isn't really going up. People really value the alpha dog on a team for the hobby. So there's one.
Yeah, good. Those are the videos that get the most views on YouTube of all hobby videos.
Really?
What's your biggest mistake?
And it's like the guy going the screenshot of the video is him sad face. Ugh.
Top 5 cards going down.
Learn from my mistakes.
I mean, that is the one thing we all have in common in this hobby for sure, is we've all bought a card or two at least that we thought was more well-liked than it was. I think we can all have that in common, so I understand why those videos do well. Percy
Harvin. Someone in this chat knows me because I love Percy Harvin. He was one of my favorite players. His real name is William Harvin. Bill, as I call him. Bill Harvin. He was one of those guys that I would have collected the shit out of him if he was playing, but good thing I didn't.
Tell me more about Percy Harvin, man.
He was just my favorite player for like a good 2-year stretch. He was awesome. He was like incredibly dynamic, fast. I had him on all my fantasy teams.
I remember him.
And his name is William Harvin, so I call him Bill.
What is Percy short for?
I think it's his middle name. Percival.
Percival. Boom. Love it. Ken says at one point he owned 5,000 each 1987 Topps Mike Greenwell cards and 2,500 Topps Teddy Higuera cards before most of you were born. That's great.
Did that purchase work out?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, Percy Harvin had migraines. He was so awesome. Ron Mercer. Yeah, people in the chat post players that you just enjoyed collecting that didn't, maybe like you thought they were a good investment at the same time it didn't work out. So there's obviously like lots of examples of that. But some of those guys, I still think, I have this theory on certain players in the NBA today, they're going to get way more love 10 years from now because of like, you know, time sort of like heals all wounds of how we look at people. And I think Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook have always been that for me. Like, people are just like, oh, you know, Westbrook's a bum now, and he's never going to win. I just told you Elgin Baylor went 0-8 in the finals, and Russell Westbrook is going to just, like, history is going to be very kind to him. That's just my opinion. And I would love to see, you know, history come back on some of these guys and start, like, enjoying their history. And, like, Tracy McGrady is another one where Allen Iverson, where people, like, enjoy collecting them a little more today than maybe they did back in their end of their career.
Throw another one at you in that category, Yao Ming.
Yao Ming,
Yao Ming is doing his cards caught on like wildfire the last few months.
They should.
Yeah,
dude, extremely influential player in the NBA's game for many
reasons.
reasons.
When he was healthy and at the top of his game, he was an All NBA caliber player.
Dude, Penny Hardaway.
Oh, we have a question about Penny Hardaway.
His cards are doing. His PMG Red sold for $23,000 the other night, and I was like, holy crap! People like Penny Hardaway cards. And you couldn't like find someone who was like all in on Penny Hardaway at the end of his career. It just like derailed so quickly with injuries and stuff. Monte Ellis, that's a cool one. He was a fun player. I like that side of it, like going back and like finding nostalgic players that you enjoyed that maybe didn't turn out to be Michael Jordan. You know, there's lots of guys like that.
Yeah, think about from a year like 03, 04, which has the exquisite RPA. Excuse me, and the LeBron exquisite RPA is just out of here price-wise. Unbelievable. 7-figure card. But there are exquisite RPAs from that year that can be had for pennies on the dollar. So if you have a player from that set, you can own that set and enjoy it in your own way.
Yeah. Brandon Roy, that's a good one. I like that one. Brandon Roy.
C-Web is collected a little bit. Excuse me. It's allergy season. It's killing me right now.
I like the Brandon Roy one. Brandon Roy had a really high peak, similar to Penny, and then you just obviously like got derailed with injuries. I like the Brandon Roy call. I think, I mean, Damian Lillard has a lot of love now. I think Damian Lillard is just like primo A+ example of this discussion. Like, he is going to be remembered so highly. Damian Lillard, dude, super dynamic player. Unbelievable scorer, played his whole career with one team. He's just got all the check boxes of someone that you'd want to collect. If I was collecting Damian Lillard right now, I would feel very good about myself.
Chrissy Buckets will be thrilled to hear that.
I wish I had more. I own 0 Damian Lillard cards, but dude, that guy is awesome.
Well,
I know David's in the chat, so.
Shout out David. He just had a Prism Gold do close to 100,000 in that Golden Elite. And honestly, when you stacked up the Prism Golds from that auction, you had Anthony Davis go PSA 9 go for like 190. You had the Trae Young PSA 10 go for like 110. Then the Lillard, I think, went around like 70 or 80 or something like that. Like, can Lillard catch Trae Young? I think so, but I'm not sure if that's because Trae Young is going to go this way or Lillard's going to go that way.
Dude, Damian Lillard is a much better player historically than Trae Young. Just for the simple fact he's played longer and he's done it for more years. Come on.
Have you looked or heard about Lillard's clutch time stats from this season?
It's unbelievable. He's awesome.
Unbelievable. He's shooting 60% from 3, 100% on free throws. Field goal percentage is something phenomenal as well. And I think he has 6 game clinching or winning shots in the clutch this year. I mean, that means, like, I don't know, 1 in every 5 games he's hitting a game winner.
Yeah, he's very synonymous with Larry Fitzgerald to me.
Okay.
Where, like, played his whole career with, like, a quote-unquote, like, smaller team, you know, like, not a super big-name team, never really joined up with the superstars, just sort of stayed with one team, was never quite won it all, but, like, was always good. I don't know, it's just, like, there's, like, fans of Portland and my Cardinals, we love players like that. I bet you Portland fans just love Damian Lillard, as they should.
Yeah, I mean, good. It's enough Lillard hype for our friend Chrissy Buckets.
Undervalued.
Yeah, okay.
Got a laugh from Christina. Boom.
Brooklyn Berry Bright says, how do you guys think big picture when a player you personally collect becomes too expensive? Do you pivot to other areas? Do you patiently wait? If you go into a new player, how do you approach it and how do you educate yourself?
Well, I feel like nobody can answer this question better than us, dude. Jordan and LeBron are pretty expensive right now.
Nonetheless, though, we bought some not long ago.
Yeah, I guess, like, the approach is a little bit more cautious and, like, take your time with buying cards of that player. You know, you can't just, like, go buy. You obviously, like, literally physically can't because of money limitations, so you got to get a little bit more creative. I don't know, I pivot into football. We both pivoted into football a little bit, and then when the time comes for, like, one of those grail cards that we want to add, we just sell stuff that we've bought along the way. I think we just talked about that a little bit earlier, but, like, continuously buying cards that we enjoy and having fun with it along the way, and then when that big one comes up, you know, if we have to sell stuff that we bought previously leading up to it, we will make that sacrifice. I guess I don't know. Is there anything else to add?
Yeah, I agree. I would also just add that there's always opportunities to consolidate. So if the player you collect does become too expensive, well, you still have some of that player's cards. You can still chase, you know, you can still consolidate 2 or 3 of those into one bigger card. You can reverse consolidate as well. You know, I don't know if there's a technical term for that. Deconsolidate. So maybe you want to turn 1 card into 4 or 5. You know, you don't have to stop having fun in your player's market just because the cards got expensive. You can be creative.
Yeah. Ken wants to know how James Harden cards are doing.
James Harden cards are doing well.
It says, like, Topps Chrome is going way up right now, right?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me you know, that
I think a lot
2009 Topps Chrome is really interesting right now.
A lot of that is because people are seeing, like, he joined a super team, right? And people are like, oh, well, you know, is he going to be A, B, C, or whatever? And people try to stack that in terms of, like, hobby love. But now that he's had the team to himself for a few months and they're like, oh, wow, the Nets are just as good, people are realizing that, like, he is an alpha. Whether he is, like, better than Durant or not, he just is, like, that kind of player.
So let's use the month as the metric here. So card we're looking at is the 2009 Topps Chrome James Harden PSA 10. That year, the Chrome was actually an insert into the Topps paper product, and it's numbered to 999. In late February, it sold for $12.5. About 5 days ago, it sold for $32.1. So.
Damn.
I'm not saying that the entire market for James Harden follows the trajectory of that card. I wouldn't be able to say that one way or the other. But in this particular case, you have about a 2.7x on his key base rookie card, which is a pop of 54. So,
do you think he'll be remembered similarly to what we're talking about with, like, Lillard and
James Harden? Has 2 very different sides to his legacy coin. On the one hand, there's a lot of people who hate watching him play basketball, and they think that the style is unpopular. Right? They just don't like it, and this is not an isolated occurrence. There's lots of people who feel that way, and it's been expressed on major, you know, media platforms. But the other side of the James Harden coin is that 20 years from now, when people look at his statistical achievements and they look at some of the stuff that he did, they're going to say, this guy was Michael Jordan of his era, points per game wise. Like, he might even have been a better scorer. Like, why are we not putting this guy on a pedestal? So.
Agreed. Yeah, Barkley said it, I think, the other night, where he said Harden's a better offensive player than Kobe and Jordan, which is like, you're really going to get people riled up with that kind of comment. But like you said, if you drop an alien on this planet and say, like, who's the best scorer of all time, and they're looking through all the stats, just kind of like not taking the emotion into it, they're like, who's this James Harden guy? He scores 40 a night, and he's averaging triple doubles in the middle. It's like, well, who is this guy? This guy is definitely up there.
Yeah. And he's one of those few players who, kind of changed the game. Changed the way it's officiated. Invented or introduced a technique, the step back. I mean, surely he didn't do it on his own, but his legacy will reflect that he was one of the pioneers in that movement, the step back movement, and the Euro step. He really took that in the NBA to another level. I mean,
yeah. So one of the comments, Collectibles Cards Clutter, who's been commenting a lot tonight, so I want to call them out. As they're talking about Karl Malone. That's a great call out. Like, why hasn't Karl Malone gotten any love? Second leading scorer of all time. So the only way to get to be second leading scorer of all time is you have to score a shit ton of points, and you have to do it for a very long time and very consistently. Why hasn't Karl Malone gotten any love in the hobby?
Yeah, it's a terrific question, but I don't know if saying that he hasn't gotten any love is quite right. So 1 year ago, his Fleer PSA 10 from 86, which is considered his rookie card, his 86 Fleer PSA 10 1 year ago, that card was $1,200. It's been on its own roller coaster, but now it's $10,000. So Karl Malone cards have 9x'd in the last year. But I think the spirit of the question, and of course that card is definitely not going to be representative of all of his cards. The spirit of the question is, Karl Malone does not get the hobby hype. We don't go on Instagram and see story after story pumping up a stack of Karl Malone cards. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of energy around them. And why is that? And that's a great question. It's a great question.
Dude, Karl Malone's awesome. I would feel very proud if I collected Karl Malone. Again, like, it's just another one of those guys to me where if you like that player and you collect him and you enjoy it, that's awesome. Go ham on it. Karl Malone's awesome. Second leading scorer of all time? That is no joke, man. That is quite the achievement. He's going to end up being third because LeBron is going to pass him. Go. But still, no slouch. What a great player.
Great player, dude. And he played alongside John Stockton, who I think also is a pretty
statistical anomaly. That
special
guy.
Player, man. All-time assist leader, all-time steals leader, and nobody's coming close.
Dude, that's still one of my favorite statistics in all of sports. Is go look at John Stockton. Go look at career assist leaders and career steals leaders, and you're like, holy crap, John Stockton was way ahead.
Yeah, dude. Freaking beast, man. All right, Cars and Clutter said, can we compare to somebody else from 86 Fleer? So there's two lines there. Might not be easy to see, but the two lines follow the same trajectory over the last year. One is Olajuwon and one is Malone. They're pretty much identical price from 86 Fleer.
Interesting. So, and Olajuwon's got the two rings.
Olajuwon's got the rings. Olajuwon's my favorite player from that era. When I was a kid, he was my favorite player. So he, I don't know. There's a lot that goes into this who gets hobby love thing. And honestly, as more time passes, I sort of get cynical about it and start to think that it's really just highly correlated with how much mainstream media attention the player gets. And that in the hobby, we're not really deviating from that. We kind of take our cues from the mainstream, and as the legacy of a player goes, so goes the hobby, more or less.
Yeah, but then you show me the data, and I'm like, man, I feel like an idiot that I thought nobody collects Karl Malone, and here it is right in front of my face. He's 10x in the last year, and clearly people are buying Karl Malone. Yeah.
Yes, he has. Like, let's see. If you had bought the 86 Fleer Karl Malone PSA 10 a year ago, or the Luka, let's pick on Luka because that's who I collect. So, like, that's fair. So, Luka people do not be upset by this, please. Comparing Luka to Malone over last year, Malone is up 723% over last year, and Luka's Prism base is up 199% over last year.
Luka's undervalued. That's what you're telling me, bro.
Of course, I don't know how you can find that spin, but you did. But of course,
I'm here all night, guys.
16,000 versus 208, and the Luka population like quadrupled over that time period. So
it took a bow. I love this hobby. You could just say whatever you want, and there's no consequences. Except for social boundaries. I feel like that's the only way you can get kicked out of this hobby is through social norms.
Yeah, so that's why they're very important, actually.
I could just do that. We should do a social experiment with a burner account. Just start posting who we think's undervalued and overvalued, and see how much hate we start. Just like go totally off the rails and just say the stupidest shit. Everything's undervalued, everything's overvalued, and just go nuts.
Are you prepared for all the possible ways that could go, such as what if that account it becomes like an amazingly popular and everybody loves it and it just kills it?
I was gonna say let me get a hold of Kevin Durant, get some advice on this topic.
Yeah, Kevin Durant might already have that account, I guess. Although he's just tweeting from his own name nowadays on the Twitter. So
bold. He's bold.
Yeah. This question came from Collectible Fund. I didn't really have a great answer for it, but wanted to throw it out there for consideration. He said, other than Michael Jordan, how does vintage basketball card values measure up to on-court performance? I think the nature of this question is, if we sorted the value of vintage basketball, does it line up with how good the players were? Does on-court performance match where the card values rank? And I don't know that question, and I would want to study that and look into that before giving an answer. So, but I wanted to at least throw the question out there as an interesting topic because perhaps he's sensing that it doesn't quite line up.
Yeah, because the sets, like the set that you're involved in, like Johnny Moore, for example, and the populations, like there's more to it than just the player. And I think that's going to hold true going into the future with current stuff. Like I think some of the 2018 Prism guys might hold some value just because they're attached to that set, or 2003 Exquisite or whatever, like you said earlier. So, and then like 97 PMGs, you'll have like oddball players selling for a lot because of the set, and like 57 tops or 61 tops with 61 Fleer with Will Chamberlain stuff. Like some of that stuff definitely plays a role outside of the player itself.
Good point. Set definitely matters as well.
I feel like the only thing that doesn't matter is population. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, pop reports don't matter, guys. Just pretend like they don't exist.
For fact.
That was an awful piece of advice that circulated through the hobby for a little while last year.
Ken, does population matter? I feel like it matters, right? Tell the people. I think it matters.
Oh, an announcement coming next week. All right, I won't step all over that, but that's pretty exciting. Okay. Oh man, let's do a few more questions. Investa Moment asks, do you find more success bidding by phone or computer?
Ooh. Actually, shout out to my friends at eBay. They added this new feature on my phone. I don't know if it's everyone's phone, but and you get the 15 minutes remaining notification. I now have the option to remind me at 1 minute before the auction ends.
How
So
do
I
I
use
get
the phone for
this?
that.
I need this.
I don't know. I get the little notification that says 15 minutes left, and then I get this little drop down that says, "Do you want to remind you again at 1 minute, 2 minute, or 3 minutes?" And I always click 1 minute, and then then I get a notification with 1 minute to go. So I phone for that reason.
Nice. I understand that question now. I thought he meant like call in to place a bid, because people can do that as well. Yeah, people do that as well.
Answer the question better. Dude, you on your dial-up internet over there with your AOL account?
No, it's just because I've been looking at too many, auction houses, and like they all take bids by phone. You can call in, you can play. And there was a discussion on Clubhouse last night about this topic, so I completely misinterpreted that question.
This reminds me of the Blockbuster documentary that I watched. Like we gotta get with the times here in the 2021 here. We gotta catch up a little bit. If we don't want to be stuck in the late 90s junk wax, we gotta evolve a little bit here.
Yeah. Sports Cards PA wants to know, how do you go about sliding into the DMs? By the way, I don't love calling it sliding into the DMs.
No, there's no such thing as sliding into your DMs, all right?
That's why I don't like calling it that. Let's change the nomenclature slightly. Sports Cards PA asks, how do you go about messaging someone to buy and trade for rare cards?
Can you read the question as is, please? I don't like the whole
how to go about sliding into DMs to buy, trade for rare cards.
I understand now.
Okay. Good.
YOLO. Just go for it, man. Just slide straight into those DMs, and I don't know. People DM me all the time, and I'm always I respond to everyone. So I mean, just go for it. Most people are more friendly and open than you think, I guess.
100%. They are, but just I would also say that like from moment one, a negotiation is ongoing, and I would think about it strategically. Never react emotionally. If somebody throws back a price that's too high, or something seems weird, don't stop thinking strategically, because the fact of the matter is you're engaged in a negotiation. Like Card Gem says, be humble, be polite. That's great advice. Treat it as if you were at an office or whatever the case may be. Like, because even though it's fun and a lot of this hobby is informal, but still, there's I would always just, until the deal is done, I would take every back and forth, very seriously, very, very seriously.
Also, if you're worried about the person that you're about to DM not responding, maybe it seems like, because I would say like approach it with, offer them something, like give them some value to want to make them want to respond to you. Because I don't want to like claim that like you need to come to my DMs and like offer me something. That's ridiculous. I'm not that conceited to say something stupid like that. But like, if I get 20 DMs in a day and it's mostly just like people wanting to hype up their own stuff, I'm gonna ignore those. But like, if you have something to offer in terms of a dialogue that I'm interested in, or some card or something that may pique my interest, then I'm more likely to respond. So think about it that way.
Definitely. If you see someone sliding, say something. Nice callback. Nice callback there. All right. We have a series of Hour 3 questions. Would you like to entertain them at this time?
Of course I would. I need another beer, though. And I have to go to the bathroom, so ask the question.
I'll find another question here that I can rant about for a minute.
There you go. My man.
Chasing Exquisite 03. I'll ask this question, too, because I know Josh would not care to answer this one.
I'm listening, though. So
Maybe
I'm listening. Go ahead. Yep.
He said, why do you think we haven't seen more integration of art into sports cards by Panini, Topps, for example, like Topps 2020? Do you think independent artists that work with sports cards will get their day in the sun? The first thing I would say to that is, you're going by the name Chasing Exquisite 03, great audience member for a long time, and I admire your collection a lot. So if the standard is 2003-04 Exquisite, that's a very, very high bar. However, Panini has come out with a lot of artistic products, actually, in the last few years that are quite good. And I used to be that late 90s collector guy who was constantly unimpressed with the stuff that Panini would come out with. And that completely changed in the last few years as I, dabbled and explored and learned a lot more about Panini stuff. Now, with that being said, there is room for improvement and there's room to add artistic innovation. So, for example, in the late 90s, they really started pushing the boundaries. They started incorporating matrix etched hole punches in their cards. So like you see that on the Platinum Portraits and the Mold Metal Fusion sets, absolutely beautiful technology. They started doing really experimental stuff like the PMGs. Those were extremely experimental, die cut stuff, embossing, etc. So Panini hasn't gotten to that boundary pushing level yet. But I think that they know that there's a market for art and for inserts. And, whereas I think Topps Project 2020 is a bridge too far, in my humble opinion. I think Topps Project 2020 is somewhere in between sports cards and art rather than being a sports card that incorporates art. There is some reason, I think, to be optimistic that they will continue to incorporate artistry. But here's the thing. A card is only this big. So you can't really do too much artistically on it like you could with a big canvas. So what you need to do is you need to incorporate technology into the cards and use technology artistically. That's where I think. Go ahead, Josh.
I have an idea. I'm just going to pitch this idea until it works.
Okay.
Panini needs to call my good friend Jean Arena, get her on the horn, get her husband on the call and say, hey, you guys are awesome. How can we collab on a rare release of some sick design? Can you help us? It needs to happen. I don't care how it happens or what I have to do. It just needs to happen.
Love that. They were right there at the forefront of innovating and integrating technology with art. Technology and art makes good cards.
Just do it, man. It would be a fantastic hit.
Agreed. All right, Josh. From the Boulevard of Cards, can Josh rank? Do we have a lot of hour 3 questions? So I'm going to try and actually get through some of these more quickly. Can we have Josh rank the White Claw flavors?
No. Someone asked me that.
No, the answer is just no.
My neighbor asked me because they were like, I wanted to give you some White Claws, but I don't know what flavor you like. And I literally was like, I don't even know. I barely know which one I'm drinking at the time. I grab them and I drink them. I'm very simple. I'm a very simple guy.
Got it. So it's not that you're holding back your list or anything. It's just that you literally just don't know what they are. Okay. Got it. All right.
I grab them and I drink them and they all taste, good. So I'm just like, yeah, that one was also good. I don't know.
That sounds like me. Yeah, I like that. I can respect that highly. Okay.
I don't really do that with other things, like with my pizza and, my other foods and stuff. Like I'm very particular about what foods I'm eating, but for some reason, like fruity drinks all just sort of blend together for me. I don't know why it is.
Fair enough. All right. Kings Angels 22 says favorite sports movie. Maybe Christina can give her answer as well. What is your favorite sports movie?
It's probably Space Jam.
Oh, wow. Took yours, huh?
Yeah. This is a difficult one, though, because there's a lot of amazing sports movies from the 90s that, are very nostalgic. They don't make movies like that anymore. Little Giants, Rookie of the Year, Major League, like major, like what is that? Big Little League or something like that.
Little Big League.
Little Big League. Big Green.
Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans. Oh.
Hoop Dreams, right? White Men Can't Jump. Angels
Major
in
League
the
is
Outfield.
Major League is really funny.
Major League is hilarious. We rewatched that.
Yeah, Major League. That's one of my like rotation. I watch that once a year.
Mighty Ducks. Oh my gosh.
Mighty Ducks.
Yes. Like,
Dude, Little Giants. You hit me hard with that one. That movie is so good.
Yeah.
That had Rick Moranis in it or something, didn't it?
Yeah, and it's like football is 90% mental and 10% endurance. I don't even know, but I just remember the Rolaids in the mouth to make all them foam.
Air Bud.
Air Bud.
Let's go.
But like
the annexation of Puerto Rico. Yes, heavyweights. I love heavyweights.
Damn, dude, the 90s had some movies, man. Can I just say that?
Dude.
I rewatched Dumb and Dumber because of our show a week or two ago.
Did you love it? Was it
Dude,
good?
that movie held up really nicely.
Good.
That movie held up really, really nice. That was a smarter comedy than anything I've seen made in the last 5 years.
I had watched that movie since I was 10, and there were a lot of jokes that I did not get as a kid. I was like, holy shit, like our parents let us watch this stuff?
For sure.
Yeah.
Wait, someone said my other favorite. Hold on. Happy Gilmore. Dude.
Happy Gilmore, yep.
Great movie. Shooter McGavin.
Dude, I need to watch Dumb and Dumber and Happy Gilmore again. Those are just those two are probably my most nostalgic like kids movies that I watched as a kid. Awesome movies.
All right, good topic there. Another one from King's Angels 22. Favorite Mexican food? We only have two options: Del Taco or Taco Bell.
Gosh, what?
You said Mexican food.
Yeah, you said Mexican food. That's not Mexican food.
Yeah.
My wife and I like Taco Bell every once in a while.
We almost went to Taco Bell today, and then we called an audible.
I told him he wasn't allowed to because I made roasted veggie lasagna, and I spent like 2 hours cooking today. And then this kid goes, "Let's go to Taco Bell before we go home." I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
Yeah. We had to buy a new shelf. Anyway, all right. Say Hey Cards would like us to rank cookies, since we now know that Cookie Monster is a fan of the crossover.
I did see that. I laughed at that. Cookies? I don't know. I rank my cookies like I do my pizza. I just chocolate chip. It's like.
Ooh, okay.
Actually, I really like Snickerdoodles. Was my other one.
Nice.
You like Snickerdoodle.
I like sugar cookies, not gonna lie. Right? That's what I like. Yep, I like those. I don't know, man. It's tough to go wrong with a cookie. You want me to get brand specific? I'm just really not that elite in the cookie game.
I get very specific about cookies.
Well, go ahead, make us look better because I just made us look very pedestrian.
I like Anjanette, Moussettes. I like Italian cookies. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are my favorites.
All right, good. Yeah, this is the problem, Sniper Manus. He says I'm so hungry now. God damn it. That's what happens.
You guys are about to order a box of fucking cookies.
What cookie place is open right now? Okay. YTMN Cards said, please, anything but ranking food. NY Giants Card Guy said, food rankings, please, but compared to card grades.
What? PSA 10 is chocolate chip. There you go.
There you go. Mostly Nines Basketball Cards says, if Penny Hardaway only went by Anthony, how much less popular would his cards be?
Less popular for sure. Dude, Penny is the best nickname in all of sports.
Yeah, and it goes back to my thing before, too. I think Penny was a big marketing aspect. It was a very cool part of him, and it trickled down to cards.
100%. Dude, I named my dog Penny. I didn't name my dog Anthony.
Okay, that sums it up perfectly right there. Getting to the very end here. Sorry we didn't get to all the questions, guys. I'll do one more. GMI Flips says, who are the top 5 athletes to hang out with? Dead and alive. Not necessarily your favorite athlete, but the best hang. Yeah, top 5. Dead or alive. Going up.
Gosh, can we build it together? Because I'm going to have trouble with this.
I'm going to kind of lean on you on this one.
Well,
I mean
Barkley, because he's
Barkley
hilarious.
Awesome.
Shaq.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to bet and like go to the casino, you got to take Jordan. If you want to go to the strip club,
I don't think Jordan would be a great hang.
Gronk, that's a good one.
Gronk, yeah, Gronk is a good hang.
I also don't want to meet Jordan or Luka ever. Side note.
What? You don't want to be disappointed?
I just dude, there was a moment during the Car Talk podcast when Lefko was interviewing Johnny Moore, Dominique Wilkins, and Spud Webb, and he was telling them all about car values. The box is worth $350,000, the 86 Fleer, and those guys were very unimpressed. You know, and you got to remember too, man, these guys played during an era where they didn't make a ton of money, you know, and like seeing cards that depict them going for that much money is kind of an awkward topic of discussion from their point of view. And, you know, even Luka, I mean, one of his cards sold for more than half of his contract value. Like, one of his cards sold for more money than he takes home after taxes and agent fees and management fees. One of his cards sold for more money than he makes for playing in the NBA. It's a little awkward. So I love to be a collector. I love to be on the sidelines. I'm perfectly okay being a fan.
We don't have to talk to them about cards.
Being a fan is underrated. Can I say that?
Yeah, but I mean, like, you don't have to talk to them about cards, and I wouldn't. If I had lunch with LeBron, I wouldn't be like, oh, hey, man, I got your best rookie cards. I would.
Look at this.
Yeah.
LeBron would be like, I got 8 of those.
I have some other names for you.
Okay.
Jackie Robinson.
Sure.
Kareem.
Sure.
Muhammad Ali.
I got another name for you.
Muhammad Ali.
Mia Hamm.
Mia Hamm, nice one.
She was my idol when I was a kid.
There, you see, that's the best right there.
I want to learn about the history of like the modern athlete and how they like broke through to break through the social norms and stuff.
Elgin Baylor was a part of that as well.
Wait,
yeah.
Oh, Christina sends a Mia Hamm card that she would like everybody to see.
There you go. Oh, Roger Federer.
Roger Federer, it's a good one.
Obviously, LeBron and Penny. LeBron and Penny would be awesome.
Yeah, especially because they both have a lot of respect for each other as well.
Larry Fitzgerald. So many guys. Dude, I would love to meet all of them. You're crazy. You don't want to meet these guys? You're nuts.
Nah, I'm good.
Jordan's like, please, Chris, hang out with me just one time, please. You're like, nah, dude. Fucking busy tomorrow. I gotta add cards.
Yeah, dude. Sorry, man. These cards aren't gonna add themselves, Luka.
Are you crazy? Fucking trying to take me away from card ladder, bro? Who is this? Michael Jordan? Yeah. Delete me from your phone, dude.
I like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is a very entertaining character. That'd be fun to spend a dinner with him or something.
Someone posted Lewis Hamilton. You know what you need to watch? The F1 series on Netflix is so good. You gotta watch it.
And
I'm all into F1 right now. F1's tight.
Okay.
Dude, nice. I'm about to go look at F1 cards. They're undervalued.
No, they are not. They are very highly valued. Dude.
Are you serious?
All right. Hang on.
God damn it. I can't. There's nothing left. I can't find any cool cards anymore.
You got to get to the card like 5 years before it pops. All right, so here's a question. This is a Topps Now card. Topps Now. It's considered a Lewis Hamilton rookie, perhaps. I don't know, man. I'm going to make
what?
Myself
Dude,
speak intelligently.
2020? Is that 2020?
2020.
No, he's been in Formula One for a long time.
I know he's been around for he's got some crazy statistics too, but like there's something about this card that makes it important. I don't know what it is. All right, so it's Pop 17. and there was something like 1,000 copies printed, or there was 1,915 copies were printed. Oh shit, 1,915. So what do you think this card's worth? All right,
I don't know, $10,000. I just like everything's inspected. I don't know.
$4,000 for a Topps Now with 2,000 copies.
I'm all about Formula One right now, but I ain't paying no $4,000 for a Topps paper.
That's what I'm saying. But maybe he has some cool cards that are.
I wouldn't even collect him. He's like not even. He's not even one of the like more entertaining characters on the show because.
Okay.
It's more about like. I mean, admittedly, the show is more about like the disasters that happen, like the sort of like the behind the scenes stuff that's more entertaining. And Lewis Hamilton winning every race just isn't as entertaining. Like at the end, they'll like do a whole episode about one race, and they'll build it up and stuff, and all the conflict that happens, and who's in 10th place and 11th, and like the battle within the race, and then they'll like do a short clip about Lewis Hamilton wins again. Oh, and back to the 10th place finish. And it's like Lewis Hamilton wins every freaking race. The dude is just like I think he's the all-time leader in wins in Formula One history. And like he's won like 7 straight championships or something insane.
It's impressive, very impressive. I didn't even know they. That's good that they made that series. That like on the fictional side, there's a Larry Bird and Magic Johnson documentary coming out. By the way, or I mean not like a docudrama. Yeah. Like it's a docudrama. It's like they got actors and yeah, that's
like a Jackie Robinson 42 kind of thing.
I don't know. It's on HBO. That's what I know.
Dude, Formula One's tight. I want to get a Charles Leclerc. I just like the way they say their names because they're all like European, so they're just very fancy. It's like, your name's Charles Leclerc, and he's like, no, it's Charles Leclerc.
You'd just be Charles Leclerc in America, guy.
Yeah, it's like his name. I can read it. It says Charles Leclerc, and they're like Charles Leclerc. Around the first 10. It's like, what? Come on, guy. You're not that fancy.
Nice. PC, the guy with the most fancy sounding name.
We're gonna find Josh in Monaco, and we're gonna like have to like pull him back to try and like get updates to Card Ladder. He's gonna be like,
Dude,
I'm sorry, I'm hanging out with Charles Leclerc.
That sounds so awesome to go to Monaco and watch one of those races. Because it's like,
yeah.
I'm admittedly not a fan of NASCAR because I think it's stupid. But Formula One is sick because it's like the more sophisticated like, and the cars are cooler looking, they're faster, their turning is better. And like,
yeah, the only thing that's rough about that is when those guys try to drive in NASCAR, they get smoked.
Yeah, it's different, obviously. But I mean, the NASCAR guys would get smoked racing in Formula One.
I don't know if that's true. I think there are some of the better NASCAR drivers were very good in that circuit as well.
No.
Okay. I don't know.
I
used to follow NASCAR more than I do. I don't follow it at all now. I used to like one driver who was from the hometown area. But
have you not seen Talladega Nights? The Formula One guy maybe I'm just like totally wrong. But isn't there a Formula One guy that goes into NASCAR?
I don't know. There probably is. There probably is.
So,
Talladega Nights was a fiction, right? That was not a docu-drama.
No. The guy was based on a... Well, no, but really, there was like a Formula One driver that went into real NASCAR, and he was pretty good.
Okay. Oh, the guy I'm thinking about is Juan Pablo Montoya.
Yes, he did well, I thought. Yeah, so in the chat, someone said, Chris, can you name one NASCAR driver who did well in F1?
I'm trying to look.
Dude, F1, there's only 20 drivers in the whole world. It's not like you can just be an F1 driver.
Okay.
Are you thinking of Tony Stewart?
Tony Stewart was a very good NASCAR driver, but I don't know that he did very well in Formula One.
No, he didn't. He did like funny cars and trucks. He just like races all kinds of stuff. But
yeah,
Formula One is more. It's not even that like the NASCAR guys wouldn't be good at Formula One. It's like a very exclusive club. Like they just wouldn't let one of them in.
Okay. Yeah, Mario Andretti is the only driver to have won F1 title, Indy 500, and the Daytona 500. That's pretty freaking impressive.
There you go.
Undervalued.
It's a fun show. You should watch it. Like, you learn a lot about that whole world of racing and stuff. Like, F1 is very extremely competitive because there's only 20 drivers at any given time. That's all there can be.
That's awesome. Yeah, dude. I used to like racing. I definitely used to like racing, and then my guy retired. So.
Who? Jeff Gordon?
No. His name is Matt Kenseth. He won one title.
Why do you like him?
Because I happened to watch him race when I was like 8 at a local racetrack, and then he went from being just a small town local guy to literally, he won NASCAR. He won the whole circuit one year. And then they had to change the rule because his style, he was never too flashy. He just finished high every race, and he just averaged out to win. He just won the whole thing. They had to change it to make it so that you had to win a certain amount of races in order to be able to get the title. They changed the whole scoring system for him.
All because of how dominant he was to get third place. Amazing.
Exactly. Because his consistency paid off. And he was also he had a super Wisconsin demeanor to him, just very sarcastic and not like the typical NASCAR personality.
Yeah, we should probably stop talking about this, or we're gonna get something foolish.
If you would have told me we were gonna be talking F1 and NASCAR in the end of hour 3, that I would have said was beyond the pale.
No, come on. We talked about Frasier for a good 20 minutes once. Like, nothing is off the.
I consider Frasier closer to the interests of our audience.
We talked about pizza and cookies and fast food joints. Come on, F1 is.
Yeah, no, I will.
Right
I'll
there.
check out that series, man. That sounds really freaking
What's
awesome.
it on?
What channel is it on?
Netflix.
Netflix.
All right.
Just called F1. And now that I've watched it, Facebook keeps feeding me F1 ads of like, because the season starts this weekend. I think Sunday is the first race for the new season.
Damn, they got 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, I see Charles Leclerc.
Dude, say it. Charles Leclerc.
All right. Double coverage or stuff, guys. Show is late. All right, guys. To the 57 who stayed, we should start doing something special for them, should we not?
Give them a sneak peek or something? What do you mean?
I don't know. We won't do it this week, but we'll think about it for next week. What can we do for the people who stay with us for 3 hours? Here, they're at the tail end of 3 hours.
Aren't they getting the reward of hanging out with us for 3 hours live?
Jeez. That's one way to think of it. Oh my god.
Like, they're welcome, okay?
Pretty good.
Good point. Good point. Okay.
Free hoodie. Yeah, okay. There's my slabs getting a little more
What's up,
creative.
my slabs? Yeah, that was more the lane I was thinking. Free hoodie. But free merch is great, but we would throw in the free merch. Maybe we give away something a little nicer than that sometime.
Maybe we razz something.
No, we don't do razz.
No, but it's not like a raffle. It's not
Sing
like
us a song.
Pays in, we just raffle to the people who are in the chat at hour 3.
Right, we pose a trivia of some type.
Yeah, I feel like we should just embarrass ourselves. Someone asks for us to sing or do a dance or something. If you get this far, you get to see live. You get to see me do something embarrassing.
There you go. Josh would like to sing for you all.
No,
Somebody ask him.
I'll try to do 50 push-ups, and you can just watch me struggle mightily or something.
Josh opens a Top Shot bag.
That would be awesome. You know what, you guys? If you guys want to see me open a Top Shot, you know what you have to do? You have to buy it as a group and give it to me somehow. I don't know. I'm not going to freaking pay for a Top Shot.
That's funny.
So I should save searches. That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's proprietary information there.
Grab me a river. I'll sing that right now.
Go ahead.
No
save
way.
it.
No way.
Don't give it away right away. We just came up with the idea right now.
Give the people what they want, Chris. That's my motto.
No doubt about it.
Got to give the people. Oh, impersonations. That would be fun. If we could do hobby impersonations. You guys just start rattling off names and we'll do them.
Oof, that could get tricky.
Why?
I don't think any of my impersonations would be flattering.
Yeah, you just like immediately think of, please don't. You just immediately think of the worst in people. I wouldn't want to see someone do an impersonation of me. It's just me screaming at people or something.
Yeah, see, they want someone to do Gary Vee. Okay.
Widely undervalued. And you should be definitely paying attention to this card right now because I think it's widely undervalued.
Yeah, the widely is very underrated. The undervalued just gets wider and wider as we go.
Yeah, the Eddie one is too easy. The whole like live, like he knows that that's an easy thing to impersonate.
Yeah, that's
like
low-hanging fruit, guys.
That's the easy one. You got to get a little more creative. I need to watch more Gary Vee. I feel like I could do a pretty good Gary Vee impersonation.
South wants to know if we can do a dual live camping out at Walmart at 2 a.m. for Prism Retail.
My favorite that Gary does is he like quotes when there's not a quotable thing. He'll be like, I feel like we should all be researching more. I'm like, that's not even, who are you quoting?
It's the opposite of what the scare quote is supposed to do.
Right. We are researching sports cards, and that's what we're going to do.
That is somebody I would be happy to impersonate, but I don't know what he sounds like. But you know I hate that guy, so.
The only guy you publicly come out and said you hate. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's quite the honor, I think.
He should be proud.
Single-handedly ruined an awesome card.
Cards.
Yeah, he's right. But he ruined the whole thing.
Yeah.
All 99 of them.
Dude, impersonations are more about the full thing, like the body language, the hand motions. It's not just like how you sound. Especially with Gary Vee.
Oh, that's true. All right. Chat is still spicy. Let's leave the people wanting a little more. Good episode, guys. We will see you all in a week.
See you guys next week.
Left go. Good time to sign off right now. See you next week.